We're going to 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 through 4, and we was talking about it. It's Yah opened up with it, talking about I'm a soldier. I'm a soldier, and it's not funny, it's not ironic. It's just that's how the Rawak is moving. The brother opened up with that old song, I'm a soldier, and that's what we're focusing on today, warfare and being a soldier. Like I had to pretty much recreate all my slides within less than 2 hours before class. So the Kathab reading is coming from 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. Shema, when you have it.
Shema.
2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. Read.
Thou, therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Hamashiach Yahushai, and the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men who shall be able to teach others also. Thou, therefore, endure hardness as a good soldier of Hamashiach Yahushai. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who have chosen him to be a soldier.
This is 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 through 4, and it's talking about being a good soldier. And it was so, your tests and your battles come when you least expect it. I'm thinking I'm up, I got some breathing room, and this morning I go to check my presentation, and none of my notes were saved, and my spirit just sunk. My spirit sunk on top of the fact that I'm not mobile. My wife got to do everything for me, feed my dog. That weighs on a man. And then I go to open up the presentation, because when you find your passion and your passion satisfies you, sustain you, that's wealth. And I tried everything over the years. This job is paying this amount. This job is paying this amount. Oh, you get this car, you get this girl. This work sustains me. This work keeps me going. And that's why I like to make everything clear and crisp, that it's presentable and it's palatable, that you guys can retain it and then teach the others. This is my passion. So when things are going awry, it attacks my spirit. So, and I already had this verse for our Kathab reading, as my wife trying to be my pillar of rest, just said, babe, let's just have Q&A. I'm like, nah, babe, I appreciate that, babe, but this is what soldiers do. Sometimes in the field, your gun jams. What you gonna do? Run back to the base? No. What you said? Got stabbed. However a verse say that. Sometimes in the field, you gotta, if you run out of bullets, we're gonna say, hey, time out, time out. I'm out of bullets. You gotta go back. No, you gotta turn that rifle into a weapon. So that's what being a soldier is all about. And what Paul is telling Timothy, every time you read the phrase in Christ, turn it back to the Hebrew, and it's by Christ. Everything we do, we have power by him. That's what, like Nariah was saying, it feels like we're coming back to our gifts. They are. Like when the Most High showed me, said, son, I was trying to tell you, dumb behind, to stay home. Your wife's way up north, and if you go down there, if I only knew it was him, I wouldn't be like this right now. So the gifts are coming back. But us being soldiers, we're coming to a level where we can't talk to people about the Bible. And I'm talking about fellow Israelites. It's fellow Israelites post things or call themselves coming on your post trying to question or correct. It's like, bro, I didn't give you the full course meal. I just posted something to get your mind twirling. And hey, you're going to give me a whole breakdown how it's wrong. And I'm like, now I could get caught in my flesh and in my carnality and give you a whole paragraph of sources. But why? You didn't even ask me for sources. I posted one source and you're going to respond with, well, I believe. That tells me all I need to know about you. I gave you a source, and instead of you giving me a source why you think I'm wrong, you just come with your emotions. This is the level we're going pastors, I know you don't have the confidence, but most of you here have the ability to sit down with T.D. Jakes and says, hey, no disrespect, T.D. Jakes, but this is why the law is relevant. This is why it does matter that we're the people. And this is the level we're going through, destroying Christian dogma. You're just going to have to pray for these people because it's just going to turn into an arguing match. That's your interpretation. Well, no, I just gave you witnesses opposed to you giving me what you believe. So real quick, as a preview why this is so necessary, let's go to something Ak shared with us this week. Let's go to Matthew 27. And somebody get Acts. Because Marianne saw one this week and he shared it. And it's an old one for most of us, but it's a perfect example how we can't take these texts word for word. So let me go back to his text. And I think the Most High for Bereans, we got snipers on all roofs now. Like Zamaria saying, if I can't take you, I got an op. I know he got the precept for you. So don't come at us if you ain't prepared. So you must have shared it to the main group. We'll go back, Queen, before we get into the lesson.
Matthew 27:3-9.
Con. Somebody get Matthew, Chef, you got it? So Chef got Matthew 27:3-9. Shamaria, get Acts 1:18. Because this is what having Bereans on all, and even the sisters too, you guys are snipers too, because when we tell y'all to get the Septuagint, we find in more and more corrupted scriptures. That's why we need all hands on deck. You turn the volume up. So it's nothing in there? We'll find a channel. We should have enough mics out there though. Acts what? Acts 1:18. This is something Marianne saw this week, and it's a clear contradiction. So we're going to start with Matthew 27:3-9. Shaman, read.
Then when Judas, his betrayer, saw that Yahushua was condemned, he changed his mind and brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the thief, priest, and the elders, saying, I have sinned by betraying innocent blood. They said, what is that to us? See to it yourself. And throwing down the pieces of silver into the temple, he departed and went and hanged himself. But the chief priests, taking the pieces of silver, said, it is not lawful to put them into the treasury, since it's blood money. So they took counsel and brought with them the pot of field as a burial place for the strangers. Therefore, that field has been called the field of blood to this day.
So Matthew is recording how Judas had a change of heart and tried to repent and give back the money for the Messiah's head. And the Pharisees, the Israelites, the wicked Israelites said, no, we don't want the money. That's your money. But the text is saying that Judas went and hanged himself, right? So you have Matthew saying Judas went and hung himself. Shamaria, are you ready with Acts 1:18? Acts 1:18, read.
Now this man purchased a field with the reward of iniquity, and falling headlong, he burst asunder in the midst, and all his bowels gushed out.
So that's a clear discrepancy. Matthew, who was one of the 12, after the resurrection, is saying that Judas went and hung himself. But here's the writer of Acts, who the theologians say is Luke. Luke is saying that he went and purchased a field, and somehow he fell down headlong, and all his guts burst out. Y'all see that? See. Now the Christians say these writings are inspired by God. The Christians put the New Testament on the same par as the prophets. They tell you from cover to cover, this is the word of God I'm preaching from. How's this word of God got errors in it? Is Matthew lying or Luke lying? Or is your God lying? This is why this study is necessary. We got Israelites telling you, well, Paul said right here, and I'm listening to you. You are fully convinced that you're reading Paul's letters. Me and you have nothing to talk about. I love you. You're not my enemy, but me and you are not on the same level. Can you imagine you got your diploma? Did you finish college? Or you like me? Anybody got there? Any you happen to finish? Tomorrow you finished. Chef, you finished, right? You're a master, ain't you? Chef, he's a master. Chef, can y'all finish your degrees, right? Y'all finish the program. Can you imagine sitting down with a kindergartner and a kindergartner tell you can't read? That's the level we're going. Like we're sitting. You're telling me Paul said you think you're reading Paul's letters, and us we got to sit like, bro, shalom. I pray for you. Well, let's talk about it. No, me and you have two different understandings. I'm light years ahead of where you're at, and it's not because of we're great. The Father says in the last days, I'm going to remove the seal. I'm going to open up the seals in the last day. So then when I spirit, I didn't put it in the presentation. I'm like, Father, you said you're going to open up the seals in the last days, but these people own the desert. All the relics they're digging up, the Israeli government owned that. So Father, are you talking about like relics? No, I'm going to open up the seals in the last days. I'm going to open up the seals. I'm going to give them understanding. I'm going to tell them, son, that's not right. Son, that's not original. So why would I tell my son to forget about Moses when I gave Moses the law twice? That seemed kind of important. Right. I wrote the same thing with my finger twice. And then when I do send my son keeps repeating Moses. This is the level we're going through. We can't even talk to the Israelites. And that's why it's like, I'm not going along to get along with Hebrews. And I said, no. That's what got us on them boats. That's what's got us on those boats. God can't really see us no more. And I don't think he worried about no spine no more. They done killed us, bro. He nothing else to eat. We must eat this pig. I'm a dollar Eleazar. Will kill me then.
You ain't going to hell for a little bit of swine. I hear that one. I be like, oh.
The next example of why this is so important, let's go to the one the Most High revealed to me this week. And this is coming from Romans chapter 8. Let's go to Romans chapter 8. All that he come on Honda and putting chicken oil on your head ain't getting it. Yeah, I ain't getting it. It's fasting and praying and keeping these laws. When you keep the law is a contract. When you keep his law, he owes you something. It's a contract. Whether the Most High like me or not, I'm keeping his law to my best. He owes me. He got to. Even if I made him mad, I repented. You still gotta bless me. It's a contract. Let's go to Romans 8. This something came to me. Most High showed me right before prayer. He said, son, look at that. I said, oh my goodness. Let's go to Romans 8. Where was it at? Romans 8.
Was it somewhere around 29-ish?
Yeah, it was at the end.
Because you said predestinate on the call. I remember hearing something about the predestinate. You started, I think, at 4.
And then we jump around, right?
And then
it's 4. Romans 8 and 4. So Shamar, y'all bring out Romans 8 and 4. Chef, go get that 1 Corinthians 10 and 4, 10 and 4, Chef, if you don't mind. We're going to show you another contradiction that clearly the Most High wrote this scripture. Clearly, God is not writing this Bible. Romans 8 and 4. Shamar, when you have it.
Shemai.
Read.
Romans 8 and Romans chapter 8 and verse 4. That the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled in us who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit.
So Romans 8:4 is saying, and this is supposedly Paul is writing this, saying that the righteousness of the law might be fulfilled by us who walk not after the flesh, but we walk after the spirit. Paul is saying here that the righteousness of the law, or the righteousness that belongs to the law, is going to be fulfilled by us when we walk after the spirit, right? Chef, can you read 1 Corinthians 10:4? Give everybody a minute to get over there. 1 Corinthians 10:4. Shemai, you have it? 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 4. Read.
And all drink the same spiritual.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I went too far. Romans 10:4. That's even worse. This makes it even worse. Romans 10:4. I'm sorry, Chef. Romans 10:4, family. My bad. Shemai, read.
For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone who believes.
Paul, Uncle Shabal, how you tell me a couple pages ago that the righteousness of the law is going to be fulfilled by me when I walk according to the Spirit or the Most High Spirit, but now you're telling me a couple pages that Christ is the end of the law for righteousness. Everyone seeing this? Sir. Paul, are you a schizophrenic? Or to my Dr. Seminary who tells me that this is inspired, this is infallible. God told these men to write this. So God don't know if his son ended the law for righteousness, or I'm going to be keeping the law and being fulfilled in righteousness when I follow this Most High Spirit. You see how filthy this text is? That's why you can't talk to Israelites or Christians if the Spirit ain't on you. You listen, as you hear my voice, that voice is going to tell you, son, say this to him. Son, say that to him. And sometimes it won't be a scripture, it just be a statement. And it give them something to think about. But don't go out there in your own flesh. Because when you go out there in your own flesh, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. That makes sense? Sure. So that's why destroying Christian dogma is so necessary. We're going to take a break. That was just the intro. All right, so we just had two perfect examples of how reading the text with Greco-Roman eyes, whether you have a high school, what do you call them? Whether you have a GED or a master's degree, reading the text with a Greco-Roman understanding is not going to get you what the Father said. That's why you have to fast and pray and always ask the Most High to give you wisdom how to deal with people. Even on social media, like, me and a couple of brothers been, trying to post different things. And when someone responds, it's like, okay, Father, your will be done. Should I respond or should I just hold back? And I'm just trying to get the practice of listen to the Father. Like, it's not even worth it. Not saying we're better than anyone, but it's just going to fall on deaf ears. If you think that you're going to the book of Romans chapter 10, and you think you're really reading Paul's letters, me and you really have nothing to talk about. It's nothing personal, it is what it is. It's like you done did the homework and you're showing your math how 2 + 2 is 4, and some other kids like, you're wrong. And bro, you ain't did your homework in 2 weeks. That's the level we're going through. So you have to fast and pray and use discernment, because who's going to be edified if it turns into an argument? Who's going to be edified if you got it off your chest and showed him how he was ignorant, but he didn't receive it? Wow. Who gets the glory then? And I'm not in this for likes. I'm not in this to win arguments. I'm in this to win souls and to get everybody back to when Joshua had us. So maybe me and you got different agendas. If you just know that you're an Israelite and you keep the commandments good enough for you, Me and you have different. I want to go back to when we were righteous and everyone feared the Most High. Because if you didn't fear the Most High, you feared Joshua. Because you know he didn't play no games with you. So that's why you fast and pray and use discernment. We're not doing all this studying and teaching to be know-it-alls and to cut brothers down. If a brother really think Paul wrote them letters, you know, may y'all be with you. Maybe it's not your time yet. I just got to move on. That's what we're going through this study, Destroying Christian Dogma. So this is our intro.
The Bible. It's just give me book. Yeah. That's what Ross came up with, though. He came up with that. He used to do it, just give me book on like Tuesday nights.
So we've been saying for a couple of weeks during this series that the Bible is a Frankenstein work. And those of you who grew up with back when TV went off, how many remember when TV went off? Right. Like after midnight, you just see snow on the screen. Don't know that. There was a time when TV went off. There was nothing to watch. It's like,
I was never up that late.
You finally got it around. You finally got it.
Yeah. 11:59. Thank you and good night. And the TV just you were like, what happened? There's no more programs on. So there was an old TV show, Frankenstein, and it was, you know, Frankenstein. This mad scientist was trying to create his new monster, his new robot, and he just built this monster out of different parts. And that's what we're telling people the Bible is. And to the unlearned ear, it may sound like blasphemy. Because I remember when I first came into this thing, and you know, again, you know, the Camp Brothers were the first ones out there, so you know, you sort of adopt that spirit. But I remember like, yeah, Jesus is fake. I think my spirit didn't feel right. You know, I grew up with Jesus, so me seeing Jesus is fake, I was like, I felt like I was blaspheming. As I became more confident, like, yeah, now I say, yeah, that cat is fake. But to the unlearned, when we say the Bible is a Frankenstein, what do you mean? That's the word of God. God wrote that word. And just last week, you said Psalm 55. The KJV stopped at verse 23 or something like that. But the Septuagint had 24 verses. So we keep constantly finding these errors. This can't be the word of God that you tell me, Pastor. Or is your God a schizophrenic? So this is what, and y'all willing, we're going to get you closer to today, why we say that the Bible is a Frankenstein work, and you have to fast and pray to get the understanding we need to free people. To get the understanding we need, you have to fast and pray. Reading, like, you know, Solomon said, I think it was Solomon, the making of many books is burdensome. You can make books and read books till your eyes bleed. But our elders, the greats, the ancients, Enoch, Noah didn't read no book how to build that ark. Noah heard the voice of Yah saying, measure this mount. So that's, and I hate talking like this because I'm church hurt, but I got to shake off my church hurt. And we are the chosen people. The Most High owes you this. It's just that us men, bench pressing, knocking people out, we have a very easy proclivity to get puffed up. I showed him, didn't I? And that's when Satan creeps in. So it's hard to maintain your humility. Why are you sharing this with this brother? Are you trying to love him and help him? Or are you just trying to show him that you don't know the Bible? And that's what, I'm not in it for that. So God willing, we're going to get you closer today to showing you how the Bible, the KJV specifically, we're honing in on the King James because the King James is like the Nike of Bibles. When you think of a Bible, if you were born after the 1900s, when you hear the word Bible, you're thinking of King James. Yes, we do prefer the Septuagint, but even the Septuagint is not the be all to end all. But the King James specifically is what we're honing in on because this is I guess the preferred text of most Christians and most believers. That King James is the Nike of Bibles. So we're trying to find our road or travel the road to the KJV to show you how when we say the KJV, the King James Version is a Frankenstein, we have witnesses, we have names. We don't just say things that sound cute, going to be good sound bites. It's all research and it's supported with research. And because, you got the brothers out there, you got brothers making songs. I got the 1611. Congratulations. It's still garbage. Thank the Most High we have something to read, but it's still garbage. So most of y'all, I hope y'all ain't gonna lose people. Any Wu-Tang fans in here?
The mess with.
They had a song called Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. Y'all remember that? The Bible was an acronym, the Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. And as a Christian, I'm like, yeah, that's dope. That's powerful. Now I know that it's false doctrine because no one's leaving Earth. No one's leaving Earth. So it was a cute little acronym and a phrase, but it's false doctrine because the text say we don't leave Earth. We get a new city that's been purged and cleansed. But that just shows you the power of the King James Bible. Even people who were not living it was wearing shirts like that. I'm like, dude, you smell like a whole half a pound, and you got a shirt on talking about basic instruction before leaving Earth. It just, Chef, don't tell on yourself. That's just show you the indoctrination of, even if I ain't been to church in a long time, I know the Bible is the word of God. I know the Bible. That's it. People take pride. I know the Bible. Okay. So there's a few words we're going to learn on part 14 of Destroying Christian Dogma. Anybody ever heard of the Reformers? The Reformation? So the Reformers, Martin Luther, y'all heard him throw Martin Luther out there. The Reformers, they wanted to, y'all all got your diplomas, right? Y'all know means to what? Do something again. So what are y'all trying to do again? They was trying to reform or reshape the Catholic Church. That had nothing to do with us. We're from Jerusalem. So your Reformation seems holy to the other pagans, but I'm an Israelite. I wasn't following your Hail Mary anyway. So your Reformation, to y'all people, these are champions of scripture. We're looking like, nah, you're still saying that Moses is no good. You're still saying Moses served his purpose. So us as an Israelite, you reforming is not helping me. So these reformers and Protestants, Martin Luther is incorrectly accredited with igniting the Protestant Reformation. That's a typo, or okay, that's a typo. I could have put a space there. So Martin Luther is incorrectly accredited with igniting the Protestant Reformation against the RCC. RCC is the Catholic Church. When in 1517, he wrote or penned the 95 Thesis, and he nailed it to the church door, Catholic church door, and went on a run. He went on a run because the Catholics, all Hail Mary full of grace, they would kill you. They would burn you alive if you disagree with them. So Martin Luther wrote his 95 Thesis. It's online, you can read it. And when you read his 95 Thesis, he is saying some good stuff. He's saying some stuff like, yeah, like, why should you be paying for repentance? Priests are charging me to do that little, I gotta pay you for this? So to Martin Luther, like the Pope is wrong. And we're like, yeah, all y'all wrong. So, but the real champion of the Reformation is a guy called John Wycliffe. John Wycliffe or Wycliffe, he's the one who really jumped it off in the 1390s. And then after him, it's a melanated, but I don't know if John Wycliffe was melanated or not, but Williams Tinsdale, his true picture is still available online. And the original picture of Tinsdale, he's dark. But Tinsdale followed Wycliffe. Wycliffe really inspired the other ones to rebel against the Catholic Church. And at this time, to pagans, you are a hero. Like, man, you're telling the Pope he's wrong. But to us Israelites, that got nothing to do with me. So this is who you learn about when you go to seminary schools and church fathers, the church fathers. Your church fathers are pagans. Your church fathers have no weight in Israel. So this is the level we're going through today. We do have Wycliffe's Bible here, down here somewhere. Wycliffe, he's the first one who started like, yeah, we're going to translate this into English. He died before he actually got to see the Bible in English, but his students and his understudies, out of respect and honor of him, they dubbed the Bible Wycliffe Bible. But his Bible was one of the first complete English Bibles. And at this time in world history, that's huge because the church, the Romans are like, nah, Latin is the only language. So if you had a Bible outside of Latin, you could be burnt at the stake. Or if you're a preacher, excommunicate him, take him from his parish, and put him on the island for a while, he'll recant and come back to the book of to the Latin. So real quick, we did this before, but now we're right at the door. Take a few seconds to write down or just put in your memory your favorite verses. Your favorite verses from the Bible that you learned. And please don't be like my wife, my Jesus wept. That's your Easter speech? I said, girl, you can stop. Couple minors, Deuteronomy 4:2. Y'all know we quote them all the time. Thou shalt not add or take away. Deuteronomy 30:7. I'm going to put the curses on your enemies. It is what it is. I love it. And then my last one I'm going with is Romans 8:31. That if Yah be for us, who can be against us? So just take 2 or 3 verses that you can recite or paraphrase pretty well as your favorite verses. Jamal, when you done? Just tuck them away. Just tuck them away. Just tuck them away. You ready? So we're gonna do a real like a flash review real quick. So in the earlier segments, we learned about the Masoretic text, and it's also known as the Leningrad Codex. And ironically, the Leningrad Codex is in Russia. It's in a museum in Russia. Somehow Russia came and confiscated or stole the Masoretic text. And the Masoretic text was written by these priests called Masoretes, and they the ones gave you all this new type of writing. It's abomination. They adulterated the word of the Most High. But they're the reason why we have these dots and these vowels and all this abomination going on because of these Masoretes. When you hear the Masoretic text, though, it only covers what they call the Old Testament. It only because these Masoretic priests, they were Talmudists, meaning they don't receive anything about the one we believe is the Messiah. So all the letters of the so-called New Testament, they reject. But the KJV for their Old Testament, the KJV is using the Masoretic text, written in like 1000 for their Old Testament. The research brought out that Masoretic comes from a Hebrew word Masorah. When you process Masorah, Masorah means bondage, bondage. We went to the Jewish Encyclopedia, and it brings out that, as I was saying during Sharash Ibar, our words change over time. So originally, what this information is telling us, originally, Masorah means fetter, chains. But the newer generation, like the Masoretes themselves, they say no, Masorah just means tradition. But your tradition put handcuffs on the text. Your tradition added things to the text and took things away from the text. So for our intents and purposes, Masorah is bondage. You just put the Most High's word in bondage. That's what we brought out there. There's another witness about Masorah, thegruder.com. It's an academic website. You can visit it at your leisure. Masorah means bondage. That's what they did to the scriptures. This is a book, Zamaria, you still have this, right? Okay, all praises. This is a book written by a doctor. He's not a Black Hebrew Israelite trying to be somebody. He's a doctor, a D.D., a divinity. He wrote this book explaining that the original language of the Bible, the original language of the Israelites, the prophets, Moses, Enoch, didn't have any kind of vowels whatsoever. No points, no letters. So when you see the picture of the house, we just know inherently that sound is ba. That's why last week, Sister Joyce got thrown off when I say we don't have A's. Y'all looking at those glyphs and y'all think those are A's up there. All we're telling you is that's the sound that comes with that. We don't have A's because the pagans gave us the A. We just know when I see that, that's za, that's ka. It's an inherent sound. That's all we, and this is not a Black Hebrew Israelite. This man is a doctor. Charles William Wall, he's a doctor of divinity. His research brings this out. Shemaria, can you read the slide for us, please?
In the fourth place, the reader, even without admitting the divine origin of alphabetic writing, may ask if the Hebrew system of letters is in its primitive state was, as I have in a former essay endeavored to prove it, a miraculous gift from God, how could it be supposed to have been imperfect in that state?
So here's William Wall in the 1600s. He's saying, listen, if the Hebrew writing in its primitive state be a gift from God, how can you improve on it? If I'm telling you this is how the Most High wrote with those people, how can you improve on the Most High? You're telling us our Most High is flawed. This is what this white theologian is telling us. If you're telling me you got to help the Most High out and put vowels in, what God do you serve? He said the original Hebrew didn't have no vowels, and now these people said we're going to improve the language. That's what they want us to believe. Next slide. I'm sorry, that's a redundant. What I wanted to highlight here, when I read this for the 1500th time, you always get more revelation when you're reading even the academic research. So when he says that, how can you improve on the ancient writing when you add these dots and these nikus and all this crap? I thought about the Christian commentaries, because y'all say y'all gotta help the text. I'm gonna write a commentary. But if you're fasting and praying, the Most High is going to give you the understanding of what that means. Because that's what's happening to us. Ain't none of us scholars in here. We're saying, Father, I just want the truth. And he's like, hey, that's not original. Why would I say that? So I thought it was ironic that he's saying you can't improve on the original framework of the Bible, the language. You can't improve upon it. But then you Christians got, I don't know if y'all, I try not to, but every once in a while I turn on the Christian preacher. But most times they're reading from commentaries. They're not even reading the Bible anymore. They're quoting commentaries from theologians opposed to reading what even the KJV says. Their peers. So even though we're bringing out the KJV is corrupt, they're not even reading the KJV no more. So from here on out, for the next couple of minutes, we're going to read this book. I have it in-house here. I tried to find a digital copy and I couldn't, but it is available. It is a digital copy for purchase. You can purchase this book from Google Books or Google Play, is it? For $9 or $10. So I bought the digital version just so I can make the slides. But this book is here, and this is the Bible, the story of the King James version of the Bible from 1611 to 2011, and of course it's past 2011. So this book has been updated over the years. I don't know which version I have, but the beauty about this man's research, Gordon Campbell, I put the title into Google search and multiple titles came up similar to this. So multiple scholars have researched how we got the KJV. And multiple scholars, if you respect their school systems, they're corroborating the story of how the King James came to be. So we're about to show you with witnesses that the King James Bible is a Frankenstein Bible. Not one Hebrew had anything to do with your King James Bible. Now, one of these theologians can speak what you're learning here. The Abba Gada Haya, they didn't know that language. When they refer to they knew Hebrew, they know that Yiddish. And that Yiddish, it just is what it is. The Yiddish is the work of Satan. So you are a Hebraist, meaning you don't study what you think is Hebrew, and then let me give you the King James, or let me give you a commentary. That's what we're about to go into here. So this is the work of Gordon Campbell. Can you take over page 2?
The story of the King James Bible. The answer lies in an emphasis on understanding the meaning of the words rather than committing the original words to heart. In the century before 1611, at the time of the Reformation, Protestants had championed the idea of the priesthood of all believers.
What's wrong with that, family?
This ain't got nothing to do with the Israelites, and the Protestants don't have a priesthood for all believers. The Protestants, our priesthood is not for all believers.
So your Protestant religion is a direct affront, attack on the Most High. Because the Most High says, who's in charge of his priesthood?
The Levites.
So pastor, Dr. Seminaries, tie wearing, collar wearing, Christmas tree having, you are in direct opposition to the Most High, talking about the Protestants think the priesthood is for everybody. Am I stretching this?
Nah. Even you have people in the faith that's come back to the covenant, of course, calling themselves pastors. I want to show you that paperwork. I'm ordained. By who? Greeks.
How you ordained, or how you even? Because you got some people. I'm priest so and so. Are you really a priest? Are you a Levite? We're just waking up in 2015. Let's say 2000. You've been working since 2000. How do you know you come from the tribe of Levi? So you're a priest so and so.
So you good at cutting up the lambs, huh?
Works of men. But these Protestants saying, listen, you Jews have been kicked out your land. Now the Father has a priesthood for everybody. Read on out.
This led to the resistance to implicit faith, which is faith subordinated to the doctrine of the church, in favor of explicit faith, in which faith derives from the individual believer's understanding of the Bible under the guidance of the Spirit.
So this has nothing to do with you and I. He says these Protestants who are protesting against the Catholic Church, they believe that I don't need your implicit faith, meaning I listen to the pastor, I listen to the Pope. That's implicit. Whatever the Pope say do, I'm going to do. The Protestants say we're no longer listening to the Pope. We have explicit faith that the Most High or the Holy Spirit explains to me the text. I don't need the Pope. That don't have nothing to do with you and I. I don't believe in the Pope anyway. This has nothing to do with you and I. But us not following these laws, now we over here, I'm Byron. Oh, nigga named Byron in Africa. Where did you get this name from? Regina. Like Regina. Because we didn't keep these laws, we are Protestants now with these Protestant names on us. Eddie, Ain't no nigga named Eddie in Africa.
I'm glad. I don't like my name anyway.
I never liked my name either. Let's read on.
That the resurgence of this doctrine.
Oh, okay.
There we go. This is right.
You got it out.
Yeah, it's probably Miss Joy.
This is Campbell, page 8.
The story of the King James Bible, English people, but go back one.
No, it didn't continue. It's a whole different.
Oh, okay.
Whole different paragraph.
But his translation has been lost. Had it survived, it would have been honored as the first translation of a book of the Bible into English, and as the earliest substantial piece of English prose. The earliest surviving English translation is attributed to King Alfred the Great, who ruled Wessex in the late 9th century.
800s.
And he translated or commissioned translations of Psalms 1 through 50 and the 4 Gospels into the West Saxon dialect, and translated Exodus 20 and 3 in the introductory section of his laws.
So this is all about the King James, and the King James Bible is in English. So they tell you the English Bible has taken different journeys, and the oldest piece has now been lost, but the earliest or the oldest surviving English translation is from this man, pagan King Alfred, and he didn't have the whole thing. He just had a couple, 50 chapters from Psalms, 4 of the Gospels. So that's the only thing we're bringing out. The English Bible has taken journeys and transitions. Even their language has changed. So your English language is the most recent tongue. So your English language is the most furthest from the ancient tongue. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Continue on your page 10.
Tyndale. William Tyndale is rightly known as the father of the English Bible. The Dutch scholar Erasmus produced an edition of the Greek New Testament, which he published in 1516.
Commit that name to memory, because as we go into the New Testament portion of the series, Erasmus is going to come up a lot. The King James Bible is broken down into 2 different halves. The first part that we call the Old Testament, or they call the Old, they got that from the Masoretic text. But their New Testament comes from this Dutch named Erasmus. You're a Dutch and your name is Erasmus. Can you speak Hebrew? Did you walk with the elders? Did you spend a night with Paul? But you give me the New Testament. Pastor, what are you talking about? This is the word of God. Oh, is Erasmus your God? Mm-hmm. Which one is it? These are the hard answers we want men to answer. You're a man, you're a pastor. Answer these questions. And stop putting up talking, well, see, the Holy Spirit gonna guide you. You're questioning God. We ain't questioning God, we're questioning you. Questioning you. And now you can't answer, they just carnal. No, we need people asking some serious questions. Well, is it salvific? What do you mean is it salvific?
Focus on Jesus.
Yeah. Because your seminary, because we're exposed to your seminary education, now you want to move the target. All you need is Jesus. Well, why you got Easter eggs then, Pastor? You see how you put it back on them? Every time they put it on Jesus, ask me, did Jesus wear a necktie? Did Jesus wear a black and white collar? Was Jesus ordained? Did he ordain the apostles? Where do you get your lifestyle from, Pastor? Read on here. Read on here. I'm trying to get out your way today.
So he published it in 1516 together with his translation into Latin, which was the international language of Europe. Tyndale, who was an excellent linguist, he knew Greek, Latin, Hebrew, German, Spanish, and French. He decided to translate Erasmus's Greek into English.
So this is the journey to your King James Bible. You got Wycliffe, who started, I want to write an English Bible. He got killed. Other men picked up the word. Now we're getting to Tinsdale and Erasmus. And Erasmus wrote the first Greek New Testament because Erasmus was multilingual, but he's a Dutchman who speaks Latin and Greek. So he took the Latin New Testament and put it in Greek. Now here comes Tinsdale, Tinsdale is a brother, educated brother, who speaks Hebrew. Not exactly. You don't speak Hebrew. You speak what the world told you was Hebrew. But you don't know that if you're speaking Hebrew, why do the text say that we hereby cry Abba? The text don't say we hereby cry Aleph Buff. But your version of Hebrew said that's an Aleph, Aleph Bet Gimbal. But when we say Abba, we don't hear your sounds that you're saying you speak. So Tinsdale, you don't speak Ibar. You speak what the world thinks is Hebrew. And it's our fault because we fell and missed it. Now they done took our heritage, telling the world was Hebrew. Read on, Ab.
He resolved in the teeth of bitter opposition to defy the Pope and all his laws, and proclaim ringingly that if God spare my life for many years, I will cause a boy that driveth the plow shall know more of the scripture than thou does. On being refused permission to print his New Testament in English, Tyndale left for Germany, where his Lutheran sympathies made him welcome in Reformation circles.
So Tinsdale says, listen, Pope, I don't care what you say, I'm rebelling. If the Most High spares my life, I'm going to make sure even a farm boy can read these scriptures. So that was a bold thing to go against the Pope. Like, like people look at yo, Tinsdale, you the man. But as Hebrew Israelites, we're slaves now. This is the 1500s. Many of our people don't even know I'm Judah. I've been beat down and burnt to be a Christian. So now I'm either following Christianity that the Pope is serving, or now I'm going to follow, or some of us have been forced in Islam, or now I'm going to follow this new thing popping up, Protestantism. But for the most part, this is the 1500s. We've been lost our way. The slave ships haven't even come yet, and many of our people don't know you're really Israel. I'm either following what the Pope is serving as Christianity, or now I'm going to follow this Protestant Reformation.
Well, some of the ships came, right? 1492.
That was the slave ships, though.
Oh, okay.
That was exploration. Yeah, that was an exploration ship. Yeah, yeah.
All right. In 1525, he began to print the New Testament in the Catholic city of Cologne. But when the printing house was raided by the authorities, Tyndale fled. All that remains of the historic Cologne printing is a single copy of the first 22 chapters of Matthew's Gospel, now in the British Library.
So the Pope had spies, and the Pope was controlling. Rome was in control of most of the world, but England was still in the hands of a black king. Anybody know his name?
King James.
King James. England was still in the hands of a black man named King James. And King James was like, I'm not following you. I'm not following Rome. We're going to follow our way over here. So I'm getting ahead of myself, but this is the era we're in. Rome is taking over the world, but England has broke away. We're not following the Pope. King James hated the Pope. Chef?
Y'all seen the first king of Scotland with Forrest Whitaker? First king of Scotland.
That's King James too. Yeah. He was the king of Scotland.
I haven't seen it. Maybe we'll watch that tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah, so you have Forrest Whitaker portraying
King James. I seen the advertisement for it, but I never watched it. So this is the era we're in. And again, I'm not trying to make light of Tinsdale or none of these reformers. Y'all doing bold stuff to defy the Pope, but for us Israelites, y'all still pagans anyway. So do we appreciate Tinsdale? I appreciate you, but I'm really mad at my own people. Because Tinsdale, had not my ancestors broke the law, I wouldn't need you to put this in English. Y'all see what we're doing? I'm not trying to defame Tinsdale and them. I'm letting y'all know that they ain't for us anyway. Even though Tinsdale was black, if you're not telling me that I'm Israel and I got a contract, you ain't benefiting me. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Continue on here.
So the book had been banned as a pestiferious and most pernicious poison dispersed throughout all the dioceses of London in great numbers. At a public burning of confiscated copies of Tinsdale's New Testament at St. Paul's Cathedral on October 27, 1526, the Bishop of London, Cuthbert Tunstall, claimed to have found 2,000 errors in the translation.
So we got a hater. Tunstall's a hater.
Tunstall had excellent Greek and could so not have meant errors in Tinsdale's understanding of Greek. The most charitable way to interpret his comments would be to assume that there were more than 2,000 deviations from the literal sense of the Latin Vulgate Bible.
So he's saying, listen, we know Tinsdale was a multilingual linguist, and we know that Tunstall understood Greek too. So maybe Tunstall is really meaning that Tinsdale's copy has 2,000 changes opposed to the Latin Vulgate. At the time, the Latin Vulgate is a church Bible. If you're going to church, you're reading in Latin. So he's like, maybe to be kind, Tinsdale didn't have 2,000 errors. It's just that when he translated it, 2,000 different places didn't match the Latin Vulgate. That makes sense? Read on.
The Latin Vulgate Bible, which was the official Bible of the church. The banning order did not work, and soon an Antwerp printer was publishing large numbers of copies of Tinsdale's Bible, albeit an unreliable text.
Say what?
An unreliable text.
So at this time, Tinsdale's work hasn't been vetted. It hasn't even went through the channels of their people. So Tinsdale's a new version pops up, and this printer said, "Hey, we're going with it." You didn't even vet this man's work. But here you a printer, because if I'm a printer, what's my main goal?
Making money.
So I don't know if it's right or not, but listen, it's new.
We could sell some.
It's new. Y'all see where we're going. Y'all follow.
The key takeaway I would say for me is that if, for one, you're so far away from what the Hebrew ancient text was, and here they're translating it into from Latin to Greek. You're not even dealing with the Hebrew, and then from Latin to Greek, this man is saying that there's over 2,000 errors just in the Greek. So how much more by the time?
Well, let's be fair, variations, because they wasn't confirmed errors. It just say variations.
So deviations from the original Latin that they had. So how much more from that to the English that we got now?
So y'all see why that theme of Frankenstein makes sense?
Don't be with your bone.
Further we go from Israel, like y'all see, like
Right.
going back to that text about a year ago or two ago, when you was watching a brother break down the English language, like we're curing diseases, but cure means to sustain the disease. Like when you cure meat, you're preserving the meat. So you tell me you're gonna cure my disease? To an ancient person, like, yo, he just said he's gonna kill you.
Wow.
Y'all see how this language is trash. And now you're gonna take the most holiest text from the most holiest nation and put it in Latin, German, and English and think that I'm preaching good word? You know what you saying. Where we at?
Next.
Did we finish that up?
Yeah.
Page 13.
Eventually, Tyndale would also be burnt, but the language of his New Testament lives on. preserved by the KJV.
Preserved by what?
By the KJV.
Well, wait a minute. Now, I don't got my diploma, or nothing, but I thought you said the KJV was the word of God. But Sister Olivia, am I straight? Pastor, you been telling me this is the word of God that you're preaching from. It just said that Tinsdale's work was preserved in the. So is Tinsdale God? These are hard questions I want you to answer me. My children's lives is on the line. My family life is on the line. How do you, because you got a collar and a degree, talking you preach the word of God, and this man's work is in the KJV. We need answers. Read that again, Op.
Eventually, Tyndale would also be burnt, but the language of his New Testament lives on, preserved by the KJV, which adopted phrases such as fight the good fight and the powers that be. Both phrases and many others are now embedded in English, but their origins in Tyndale's New Testament have been forgotten.
They forgot about Tinsdale. Your Bible right now, if we had time to go fight the good fight of faith, y'all know that. That's Tinsdale's words. So you mean to tell me Paul ain't say it? No, super Hebrew, Paul ain't say that.
Wow.
But you up here on your channel want to have debates, and Paul said, man, you sound goofy to me. You sound straight goofy. It is what it is. Let's be men. If you're not on the level, say you're not on the level, you're just trying to figure things out. Everybody with a dumb phone wants to start a channel and teach something and break something down. Too many chiefs and not enough Indians. Slow down and get some understanding. If it takes you 10 years, so what? Do some good work for 6 months. But no, I got a smartphone. I got a good Wi-Fi. I want to start my channel and get all kind of transition and fancy little thumbnails, and I'm teaching something. I'm debating these Christians. You sound stupid. You sound stupid to me. Let's get back. I'm gonna get out y'all way.
So on a broader front, Tyndale set the new linguistic style for New Testament translations. Tyndale set the linguistic style for the New Testament translations.
So they're inspired by God.
Oh,
I thought New Testament. Men spoke as God gave them utterance. Y'all ever heard him say that? God told those men to write that. What did this man tell you?
On a broader front, Tyndale set the linguistic style for the New Testament.
Read, I'm gonna get out y'all.
And real quick though, this it's like they went into the land or whatever and found like some letters and like was like, oh, this is like holy or something, and then they just try to translate it. Does that make sense?
It was a lot of treasure hunters going on, and at the time, Christ did, like, those pagans knew he was real. Like even the Romans, like yeah, we seen him alive. So to get one of the apostles who walked with him and he breathed on them, they knew this got some value.
Like if Paul wrote a letter to Timothy and he was, in one of the Asian Minor areas, I don't know, but I'm saying, or whoever was in Corinth, how did they get the letter? These people.
We're gonna get to that in the New Testament part.
Okay.
We got some history how these letters came about.
Oh, okay. Because that's what I'm starting to think. Like,
yeah,
he talking about the New Testament. I'm like
some sources that speaks about, because like that sister that was here that one week, I'm a skeptic. There's always been skeptics of these letters, and us being indoctrinated, we're like, oh, that's a devil. Don't question the Bible. Like, no, that's a good question.
Right.
You're saying that, he rose from the dead, but then his grave is marked Jesus. Can we research this? But y'all so indoctrinated, you Protestants, y'all just believe. So your faith is being Nah, Pastor, we're going to stop that. We're going to question everything, and we're going to examine everything. So that's what we're going to bring out some research about these letters when we get to the New Testament. Where we at?
So on a broader front, Tyndale set the linguistic style for the New Testament translations for centuries to come, in that the studied simplicity of his language, which was designed to make the New Testament accessible to plowboys, has become established as the dominant idiom of subsequent translation.
So Tinsdale's goal pretty much was achieved by y'all using his phrasing in your KJV. Even though Tinsdale didn't make it to see it, his goal was achieved. I want to put this Bible in the plowman's hand, because y'all saying, "Oh, you can't understand this, my son. You're not holy enough." That's why it's in Latin, because Latin is the lingua sanctum. Latin is the sacred language. So no, just believe what I tell you. When you got to bring me $100 every 2 weeks, that's his God. That's what Rome was telling them. I'm the Pope. I'm the vicar of Christ. Trust and believe that I got your salvation in my hand. Don't question me, because I can send you to hell. But Tinsdale, like, no, we want to translate this into English to see what these letters are really saying. So that's what he's saying. Y'all burnt Tinsdale and the other ones, but y'all still use his work in the KJV. So Tinsdale's goal was met. We're reading, I have fought the good fight of faith. Y'all know that's Paul, right? That was Tinsdale's translation. So he achieved his goal. But Pastor, you tell me God wrote this Bible and we're reading Tinsdale's words. Next slide.
Page 13 continues. Somehow Tyndale learned Hebrew, somehow, and embarked on a translation of the Old Testament. It was never completed, and the only parts that were published in his lifetime were the Pentateuch and the Book of Jonah. Many phrases from these published translations survived into the KJV.
Say what?
So many phrases from these published translations survived into the KJV.
Queen, you said something that just jarred me. This is how you got to read textual criticism. Queen, they use the word what? What did they really do? You copy Tinsdale's work. So I want to be objective. So I'm saying his words survive. You plagiarize Tinsdale. Your KJV is plagiarized. Let's just be men, right? Because Tinsdale was dead. He didn't give you permission. So you using his translations, he ain't getting none of that bread that y'all getting.
Or his family.
His family ain't getting the bread. You ain't even giving him a shout out. Y'all forgot about Tinsdale.
Yeah, because it ain't in here.
Totally forgot about the man. Y'all use it to this day. I'm a man to this day. To this day. Y'all using his words to this day and won't even give him a shout out in your translation. Check your copyright publisher page.
That's what I'm looking at.
Editor such and such. Printers, publisher such and such.
It ain't got no Tinsdale.
Ain't got no Tinsdale. Couldn't even give him a little byword. Tinsdale was a great man.
You don't even have like what do they call those?
A blurb?
Even that.
Not even a blurb in there about Tinsdale.
Dang.
Y'all done made billions, trillions off his man work. They say to this, y'all double check me, y'all Bereans. They say to this day, the Bible is still the #1 sold book. So y'all getting money off this man Tinsdale, won't even mention him. Chef?
I was just thinking, can we just take a look at the statement to fight the good fight of faith? What does that even mean? How do you fight a good fight of faith? If we are concrete people and you trying to give me some abstract thought, looking at Hebrew, if you saying Paul said this thing, faith meaning something that's established, you're fighting a good fight of something that's established. What are you talking about?
And you go in the rabbit hole, that stuff don't make no sense. Because you tell me fight the good fight of faith. Well, first of all, let's take them at their understanding. Your understanding is faith is something hoped for, not seen. So how can I fight? Why am I fighting? Because to you Christians, I believe. So why are you fighting? Why are you fighting if you believe? So their doctrine makes no sense. And then like you said, look, from our perspective, faith is concrete. Amanah. I don't have to fight for something established. I just got to live it. Keep these laws and you're blessed. Keep these laws and sickness is off you. Keep these laws and your enemies are going to fear you. The Most High says, I'm going to cause your enemies to fear you. Not because I'm benching 450 and I can squat 500. I'm going to cause your enemies to fear you. Like, why are you scared of that man? I don't know. He's intimidating. It's the power of Yah. All we got to do is keep these laws. Amanah. So like you said, Chef, fight the good fight of faith. What does that mean? How that Westbrook mean, brah? What is that? What, brah? The fight of faith. What are you talking about, Pastor? Why am I fighting when y'all said that y'all saved by grace? Pastor, why are you fighting if you're saved by grace? These are the questions we need y'all to answer. Let's read on.
Nariah had his hand up.
Go ahead,
Man, I'm just so amazed at the lack of fear hearing all this stuff being brought out, because here it is. Last week we were reading from Yahushua in the book of Sirach, the prologue, how they were apologizing, how they knew the translation would lose its force. But here these people are boasting in the work that they've done, and it's abominable. So it's just got me amazed over here.
This is what the church is not telling their members. Just I'm the man of God, and I went to school, and this is the word of God. I'm the man of God. This is what I tell you to do. That's what we've been swallowing all these years. That's what our family is still locked under. Where we at? The water for that, Deron.
So many phrases from these published translations survived into the KJV, such as "Let there be light" and "There was light." I feel like you gotta say something about that.
No, you say something about it. You see, you don't really make it like it's the most high. It's easy to say. It's easy to say.
But what's it saying? This is saying that it didn't say "Let there be light."
The phrasing, "Let there be light." These pagans need everything to read smoothly.
Okay, so we wouldn't speak like that.
We don't speak like that. To us, to them, we sound crude. Like we said, we brought out, like they wanted to say, "And I went to the store." And Chef pretty well told me, "Store I go." Now you laughing at he ignorant, he's a slave. Nah, that's his language, that's his culture.
And so, for example, I was going to say earlier when we was talking about, learning how to speak fluently, Marianne, I was talking to him yesterday, and he had sent me a message, and then I had texted him back. I was basically saying, it's all good, and, bless you, and thank you. And I think I said shalom. So I said, called the wab. I said, Khan called the wab. Like, I don't know exactly how to say it, but I was basically just trying to say it's all good.
Right.
And that would be close, right?
We would have put it back.
The wab call.
Yeah.
So
and he would have knew as an Israelite, he would have knew you said it's all good. But we would have put it in English.
Right.
We wouldn't have to put it in English.
Right. I didn't put it in English, and he knew what I was saying.
Him being an Israelite, if you said the wild call, he would have knew you're saying blessed. You're giving him a blessed salutation. He would have knew it. It's just that English. Rome took over the world, and they lost grip of the world, and that's when the Britons came up. So even though Rome was still running the world, Britain had that run. That's why we're in the United States. That's why we're speaking English, because of the British, iron and clay. But at this time, Latin still was running the world. If you couldn't speak Latin, you was a peasant.
Right.
But now King James is coming like, nah, squat that Latin. We're putting the scriptures in English.
Right.
So we wouldn't need none of this garbage. So you saying the wild call would have been enough. Marianne would have knew what you were saying.
Right.
No translation needed.
And then in English, it would have been it's all good. Like you're adding.
Right. They gotta add, they need everything to flow nice and they very wordy people. Like, dude, just say what you mean.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm getting ready to exit the vehicle and I'm leaving.
Right.
You know what I mean? So our people are our language is very succinct and it is very, I don't want to say crude because that's putting us like inferior to them. We give y'all speech. So our language is not crude. You know, it's hard to really vocalize because we're English now. We grew up in there, but our language is original. Like y'all need us.
Even not knowing who we were when we're in the street, we change their language anyway. We adapt our own terminology. So we be like, all right, based on your reflection or your inflection of your voice, you know, I say one more word.
Yeah.
Or I'm leaving. Or it's all good.
We just know. Just like they thought our ancestors was ignorant, sick, taught kumbaya. And y'all thought our family was dumb slaves, couldn't speak your language, and they wasn't trying to speak your language. They were saying kumbaya, kwambaya. They were speaking the little bit of Hebrew they could hold on to, saying we're gonna rise by Yah. So he's not saying that the text didn't say about light. It's just that for our language, the Most High would have said Hayah Awar. Hayah Awar is enough. Hawa is be or to exist. Awar is light. Hayah Awar or Awar Hayah. But Tinsdale put it in that nice package. Let there be light, and there was light. We didn't need it. We didn't need all that.
Right.
Yahweh says, Yahweh, we would say, Amar Yahweh, Awar Hawa. And we would know, Yah said, let there be light. And we wouldn't even need there, and there was. Because if he spoke it, we know it happened. So y'all need all that polishing on y'all language. We wouldn't even need, and there was light. If I just read he spoke it, I know it was light. You see how deep we're going?
Oh yeah, and this next line about to be another piece.
Where we at?
This translation also brought into the English language the term Jehovah. Kill shot right there if you had a soundboard.
We ain't going that route.
And Exodus 6:3, which requires some explanation.
So I clipped that because that was a very, very nail in the coffin. You are calling him Jehovah because of Tinsdale. No, none of our ancients, if our ancients, I know, hope Nariah is listening, if our ancients heard you call him Jehovah, they might lay hands on you. Like, first of all, they ain't gonna understand you. But then if you made it be known that you was talking about the great I am, they'll be like, who? What you call him?
Keep them stones down.
Like, you call him what? Like, so you calling him Jehovah is because of Tinsdale. Because of Tinsdale. Where we at?
The four consonants that make up the name of God in Hebrew, known technically as the Tetragrammaton, a Greek term. 4 letters are usually transliterated as JHVH or YHWH.
So I wanted to park here and to correct some poor doctrine. Heard years ago that Tetragrammaton means Satan. Tetragrammaton means Satan. And it's like, you are an elder in your community, you are a teacher in your community, and you don't have enough respect for the people of Yah to do a word study. Tetra is just a Greek prefix for 4. In grammaton, you can see grammaton. What word is close to grammaton? You see how, but you and your channels, King Judah, Mighty Teacher, buy my class for $9.99, get into the academy. Tetragrammaton is Satan. You call him Satan. Chef.
You're going too deep right now. I'll just stop.
No, that's good because that stuff have us when like you're new. This was me and Nariah too. Like when you new and it just confusing. it's confusing, but like me, where I'm at now, I mean, it just means 4 letters. That's what
all-
tetragrammaton means. 4
That's
letters.
all. That's all. Tetragrammaton is not a person. It's not a deity. It's even if the Greeks got a god that they call tetragrammaton, the Greeks, and just like the ancient world, they're attribute things different attributes. So if the Greeks do come up with a god named tetragrammaton, it still means 4 in letters
Or words.
or 4 words. So when we say that we know we don't have, let's just finish this out.
So the tetragrammaton, a Greek term meaning 4 letters, usually transliterated as JHVH or YHWH, because the name of God was deemed by Jews to be too sacred for utterance. They substituted the word Adonai, the Hebrew word for Lord. When vowel points were added to Hebrew consonants, the vowels of Adonai were inserted into the consonants JHVH to produce the compound word.
So y'all see what they did there, and y'all see I got one of my favorite scriptures, Devarim 4:2. Shemariah is doing a very good job trying to help the Christians and the babes. When we stress the words added, inserted. When you add and insert, you are in direct violation of the Most High's word, adding to and taking away from his word. So we know, and all of you out there with your dumb phones can do the research, there's no J in the ancient world. I'm not talking about Hebrews alone. Even the Greeks and the Latins didn't have a J. So you turn that J back into the original sound of Yah or Y, and they said they take the vowels from Adonai and stick them in there. And that's how you got the word Jehovah. So the Adonai has what? A-O and A-I, or they got 4 vowels to me, but that's how they invented the word Jehovah. So the point of this slide is Jehovah is not a holy name. Jehovah is an invented name. You made it up. Versus Yah and Yahweh is his attribute. The creator exists. That's what Yahweh means. Yah means the creator, because with your arm you make things. Hawa means to exist. So when we call him Yahweh, we're saying the creator exists. Versus Jehovah or Yehovah, you just made that up. You made this up. Y'all see the magnitude of this, Chef?
When he reads the sentence, because the name of God was deemed by the Jews to be too sacred for utterance, we had his name in our names. So this wouldn't be us saying anything of this magnitude. It don't even make sense.
Makes sense. That's why I don't know if it was the wicked rabbis who came up with that, or the pagans lying on the rabbis, or some of the rabbis became those fish rabbis who started that. I've never been able to get to the root of who started that lie. Well, like you said, like our names has the Father's names in it. So how would it be too sacred to say? Our elder's name has Yah's name in their name. And how many times did he say, when you get in trouble, call on me? Can you imagine? Like he said, I want to hear you say my name, and I'm going to come get you. And like, man, I'm about to drown, but man, his name. You better say his name. So their doctrine makes no sense at all.
Well, oh, that's great. Gerald had the same.
Yeah, my wife been practicing with abusing my grandson. Gigi. My grandson, like he's looking like.
Blocky.
Go ahead, Gerald.
Yeah, so when you take the Jehovah and you take the Jesus and you break it down in its consonants and its forms, to their modern, Hebrew, you probably heard what you get with the Jesus thing, you get the earth pig, and then with the Jehovah thing, you get God of mischief and stuff like that. So even that's an angle right there where it just completely get perverted. It don't even take the definition on what they tell us it is, in modern religions and so forth. But then the whole Jehovah thing, that's Masonic. I mean, because I got this Encyclopedia of Freemasonry, you know, from the dude Mackey. And it tells you in there, out of all of that book in Freemasonry, the most important name of all the words in Freemasonry is Jehovah. Now, as witnesses, they tell you it means he who causes to become, right? They just umbrella it like that, just make up a definition. But Freemasons, it technically.
That's crazy.
My bad.
It technically means that for them, because for Freemasons, they say, you know, you have to believe in a God in order to be a Freemason. You can't be an atheist, because when you swear to, when you do their oaths and stuff, and then you vow to their secrecy and stuff like that. If you have faith in a God, then they know that you know, I mean, you believe that you would hold dear to that commitment. So you can believe in Buddha, you can believe in Allah, you can be whatever. You just can't be atheist, because to them, Jehovah is the umbrella over all of that. They are all Jehovah. They are all a form of Jehovah. So that goes into, when you start messing with that Jehovah name, that's a totally different, that's its own study in itself, you know. And so for even for Tinsdale to introduce that and bring it in, make me question, you know, what was his background, you know, to if the King James is following that, because as a witness, we knew everybody that was King James only, we knew that all I had to do was take you to Psalms 83:18 and show you, and in Exodus 6:3, to show you that Jehovah's name was in the Bible. And you ask most people, what's God's name? Jesus. They give you everything else, the titles, Lord, God. No, you show them where it said Jehovah, you get their attention, you know. And it's so much trickery, man, and so much deception in that. But yeah, I just wanted to plug that in there and just say that.
No, all praises. The water for being a witness is deep, because I didn't have time to take it to that level. But Gerald made a great point. When we mention these people's names that we're going to mention today, go study their background. Go study their back. Are you part? Because these mystical cults and these secret societies go back long before go. So you coming up, Tinsdale, you coming up with the name Jehovah, is that a coincidence? You know, so that's a great point. Thank you for adding that to the class. I just watching a YouTube video the other day about that.
It was a long time ago, but I can't really tell exactly, because the Illuminati part from the Freemasons was in 1700s, but the Masons was like way before that.
Some people like to put, and that's another thing they were doing. They were name dropping, so they would drop King Solomon's name to make it have some credibility, some weight, and it could be like, King Solomon know nothing about y'all. So, you know what I mean? So that's a level. But the Masonics, I seen a nice documentary I was watching. It's in my history. Come. So there's a lot of theories. I haven't been able to get nothing concrete. There's a bunch of theories how far back this Masonic knowledge and this mysticism go. But all of us who put that square cap on, you was a Mason for that day. You was a Mason for that day. Got little babies in grade school. Dun, 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 dun. Changing the tassels. So we were all Masons at one point. Great point. Where we at?
Well, I wanted to make a point.
Go ahead.
Before we go back into it, is that I'm glad that, you know, Gerald brought out what he brought out, and then bringing out this, because when people speak against the name, like, you know, of like Yahweh, and say that it's like Ahia or whatever other name that they may say, they attack the straw man of Tetragrammaton, right? And then they go to Jehovah and they attack that name. And then it makes the person that's unlearned, like I was, you're like, well, that does make sense, right? You see what I'm saying? But right here, this just kills it all. So everything they're saying, not everything they're saying, but a lot of the points they're making may be correct, but you see here that Jehovah was made up.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have anything to do with Yahweh. It doesn't have any, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I'm just thinking off the top of my head, isn't a higher 4 letters too?
Right.
So it's like,
And it still got Yah in it.
It's different when it fit their narrative.
that was different.
That was different.
What time you trying to smoke us out in the backyard? That was different. So you're saying, we're saying Yahweh is, and you're saying that's a tetragrammaton, but for those who are, and we're not attacking our brothers, if you're that sensitive, it is what it is. This is war mode now. But if you're saying Yahweh is a tetragrammaton, your Ahaya is 4 letters.
Right.
So King Judah, how you explain that to your people? You're indoctrinating people like the Christians and you're putting up straw man arguments. Ahaya is 4 letters. The Ha, and then the Wa and the Ha, right?
Yeah,
That's how they, oh, it's Ahaya.
Ahaya.
Ah,
Yaha.
Aha, Yaha.
Right.
It's still 4 letters, King Judah.
And they even make clothing instead of Yaha Waha, they put,
You put-
Aha Yaha.
So you just indoctrinate your community talking about we're using a tetragrammaton that's of Satan, and your whole assembly, and you're making clothes and songs with 4 letters.
And the point is, though, that I'm seeing the tetragrammaton word is made up, has nothing to do with Hebrew
At all.
And the Jehovah name is made up. It has nothing to do with Hebrew. So like all of that scholarship, quote unquote, doesn't have anything to do with why I believe the title that we say. You see what I'm saying?
That's all course. That's all.
That's the level you go through. And all praise to any brother trying to teach. I don't want people to think that I'm no, all praise you're trying to teach. What my goal is, I'm gonna treat people how I want to be treated. Stay humble and stay open to information. But when you close down and your way is the only way, now you're a cult. Hey, now you're a cult. And now you're kind of sending other people who are not marching with you. Now you're a childish cult. Just explain why you do what you do and let the people decide. Now, if I'm part of your organization and I say, hey, I don't think that's right, you make a decision either I have to leave or won't you re-examine what you're doing? But if I have to leave without you examining what you're doing, you're a cult. That's just the facts of the case. You're a cult. That's what we got going on.
So right here, it says the vowels of Adonai were inserted into the consonants of Jehovah, of JHVH, to produce the compound word Jehovah, which was first used in Latin in 1516 and first appeared in English in Tyndale's Pentateuch of 1530. The form of the word used by modern scholars is Yahweh.
The apostles knew nothing about this name or these titles. The apostles, the elders knew nothing about Jehovah or Yahweh. That's what we're bringing out here. Next slide.
The popularity of Tyndale's New Testament continued to antagonize the English clerical establishment. In 1529, Sir Thomas More condemned Tyndale as a Lutheran, which he was, and declared his New Testament to be heretical.
Got another hater, Thomas More is a hater, saying, Tyndale, you're a Lutheran, meaning he's following Martin Luther, and which he was, and he says, your New Testament is heretical. These terms are subjective. You and I right here, they're calling us heretics. But we're looking at them, I got texts that say you're a heretic.
Right.
So when you read these words in these books, it's all subjective. And us poor Israelites, we're looking at all of y'all are heretics. You're telling me Jesus is God, the Son is the Father. You're telling me Moses is done and served his time. All of y'all are heretics to us. So I just want to bring that out.
And he also touched on an issue that was destined to be revived by the KJV translators, which was the use of ecclesiastical terms.
So the KJV translators had to deal with the same thing Tyndale did. What church words are we going to use? What church words are we going to use in this text? In the spirit of Benaiah? But wait, there's more.
This sounds like politics to me.
Oh, politics is polity. Choices. I thought God wrote this Bible.
It's just been on my spirit since you started. Like, I keep hearing like Black Lives Matter, like because that's not for us. Like, so I'm thinking that this would have been like their time of a political agenda. Like, even though, one side, Tinsdale and Luther, gonna think they're right, and then the other side is gonna think they're right. In our time, it's Republicans and Democrats.
Catholics versus Protestants.
Right.
That's the way.
And both are wrong.
Both are wrong. We've been Protestants our whole life, just different flavor. Baptists, Methodists. We don't shout here. Methodists, they quiet, right, babe? Methodists, you can't shout in a Methodist church. So we've been different flavors of Protestants versus the Catholics, but y'all all are the whore. Y'all all are the whore.
Right.
You just dressed up with a different wig on. You still the whore.
And
You just gotta make it today. Time is short.
Fox call
Hello. About the whore. And here's what it is. If you're not following what the Most High gave to Moses and the Messiah resealed and repeated when he was here, you are a whore. That's just the facts of the case.
And so it says the instructions given to the KJV translators included the old ecclesiastical words to be kept.
Well, we can't speed past that. What you say?
It says that the instructions given to the KJV translators.
I thought it was inspired of God. Who's giving you? God gave you instructions. Maybe God gave them instructions. Who gave these translators instructions? You tell me it's inspired by God. Matthew said, holy men wrote as God gave them utterance. That's what the Christian church is telling us. Now we get this research saying they were given instructions. They were given instructions. The KJV translators had to obey somebody. Who are you obeying? We're going to get there. I'm speed shaking.
I thought Shamari was about to bring it out when he said, let there be light. Well, the light word translates into instruction. So there was chaos, there was darkness in the land, chaotic. When the teacher's away, got these little kids in the class, they throwing paper, they having food fights, little spitball fights. But when the teacher comes back, when that light comes back, when he comes with his instructions, hey, y'all better chill, get in line, I get that paddle out. Well, some of us know about that paddle.
Not back home. Our schools, they play that.
Yeah, we didn't get
I
back.
called my mom.
And I was getting whacked. But it's clear. Without the instruction from the Most High, man, they just
So
do it.
but it's layers to this. We got to get through these slides. But what Chef is bringing out, you're telling me, Pastor, because you've been trained with the school, that the New Testament is inspired word of God. Them men was writing like the Most High told them to write, but they didn't say that. And none of those letters did the apostles say this is the word of God. And none of them. The red letter we respect because you're telling me Messiah said these things, and we sort of believe that because we got the evidence saying Messiah said those things. But none of those elders said this is the word of God. I'm writing things for my nation. Now we got this man telling us, and I just pulled him, there's other researchers who agree with his research. You're telling me the KJV translators were given instructions. By who? By who? I ain't gonna rush y'all. Y'all keep going. We're gonna get there. The instructions were given.
The instructions given to the KJV translators included the old ecclesiastical words to be kept. For example, the word church not to be translated congregation.
Read.
I feel like that's important. And one of the pillars of Moore's denunciation of Tyndale as a heretic was that he had used congregation instead of church, senior instead of priest, and love instead of charity, giving my boy Tobin a bad name, and repent instead of do penance.
So this man got beef with Tyndale because Tyndale in his translation says, I'm not using the word church, I'm using congregation. And we all understand why you wouldn't use the word church, because when you do the research, church goes back to a Germanic word, kirke. Kirke goes back to circle. Circle goes back to what the witches and those ideologies do. They a bonfire, they make a circle and have seances. How many grew up in the church where you hold hands and make a circle around the church? Remember those days? Everybody go with grab hands. We're gonna interlock hands.
They do prayer. They prayer.
Y'all remember that? Y'all like, well, where in the scriptures did the apostles hold hands in a circle? That's what the word church goes back to. Circus, kirke. Kirke is one of their gods.
It's funny that Shamaria stated that it kind of put him in the mindset of politics, because one of the things that you always say, they make Paul sound like a politician. You know, so it's almost like they rewrote this thing or put this stuff out there, and you know, he's coming across like a politician, like with certain groups, but we all know that he was really speaking to the people. So
So, man, is this making sense?
This is bringing a lot of.
I'm not even doing the book justice. I knew it was going to be a lot of work, and I'm just clipping some key paragraphs. The book is, I couldn't get past this book. Like, my goodness, like, let's just keep going. We're going to try to get through these slides.
Tyndale replied to Moore's attack page by page, and in his reply explained his lexical decisions on congregation and church. For example, he said,
so Tyndale is busting back. You want to attack my translation? I'm going to respond to your rebuttal, or I'm going to rebut your attack.
In as much as the clergy had appropriated unto themselves the term church, that of right is common unto all the whole congregation of them that believe in Christ. Therefore, in the translation of the New Testament, where I found this word ecclesia, I interpreted it by this word congregation.
Here's a black and white. We ain't breaking this down. I ain't getting y'all all amped up, putting oil on your head. Let it go, let it go. This man Tyndale is telling you, you're reading in your Bible the word congregation because I chose to use that translation. Not God told me to do this. Not the Holy Ghost whispered on me. Not someone put a sheet over me. I chose to use the word. When I seen ecclesia in Greek, I chose to put it in congregation in English. How's this Bible the word of God, inspired of the Holy Ghost? This man Tyndale is telling you, that's why you're reading what you're reading. I made the decision. I made the decision. Let's keep going. The next one is Coverdale. Coverdale.
It's just so much to this. Man. Tyndale's most important successor was Miles Coverdale, a former Augustinian friar who eventually became the Protestant bishop of Exeter. It was Coverdale who, in October of 1535, living in exile in Antwerp, published the first edition of the entire Bible in English. As he explains in his dedication to King Henry VIII, Coverdale had, with a clear conscience, purely and faithfully translated this out of the 5 sundry interpreters. The most important of the interpreters was Tyndale.
Who's the most important of the interpreters?
Tyndale.
So Coverdale is up next, and he's going to tackle translations, but he's basing his work on 5 interpreters. But the main one he relied on was who? So who wrote your Bible? Y'all smart today. Read on. Do we finish that out?
Whose New Testament was printed in revised form. Tyndale had not, however, published a complete Old Testament, so Coverdale had to.
Next slide. Is that a repeat?
Yeah,
It's something weird. My old slides is popping up.
I was going to ask you earlier, you know, your recents.
I went there, I didn't see it. I didn't see it because I renamed it the same thing to write over it. Every time I make updates, I save it as the same thing. So, but these are my original slides. This is very, very weird. Oh, so
You endure it, my son. Now your blessings has come forth from the Shemayim.
this is really weird. Yeah, these are my original slides. So this is Coverdale continued.
So he had to assemble an Old Testament from other sources.
What sources? Coverdale had to assemble his Old Testament because Tinsdale's had been published. So he used other sources. What other sources? Tinsdale's hadn't been published yet. So it said that Coverdale had to use other sources to get his Old Testament together. You see how the level we go through? Keep going out.
On the title page, he or the printer explains that the book has been faithfully and truly translated out of Dutch and into Latin into English. By Dutch, Coverdale meant German, goodness gracious. And he was acknowledging a debt to Luther's Bible,
Martin Luther,
and to its Swiss German derivative, and
I don't know how to say that word.
Zwinglian Zurich Bible.
Y'all see the KJV? The KJV is based upon all these works. That's why we said Frankenstein. That's why we're telling you fast and pray and turn social media off. Drop your posts and pray for them. Don't respond. They're gone. They're gone. Read on out.
His Latin sources were the Vulgate and a Latin translation from Hebrew and Greek of the Bible by the Dominican friar Sante Panini, which had been published in Lyons in 1528.
Sante or Saint Paganini is very relevant. Keep going.
It was the Bible of Paganini that transmitted the division of Old Testament chapters into numbered verses and its origins
from its
origins in a Hebrew Bible of 1440 to a long line of English Bibles beginning with Coverdale.
All of these works are adding on or building up to the King James. So the first one to give you numbered verses is this man named Saint, he's a friar, Dominican friar, named Saint Paganini. Is he an Israelite? Did he walk with Paul? More importantly, have y'all ever been studying and you reading and like the chapter cuts off weird?
Especially like Isaiah or something.
It's Paganini did that. That's why I've been building up this to y'all, telling y'all these chapters and chapter breaks are not natural. These pages decide I'm going to cut it here. And then you're like, wait a minute, this should have been part of the last chapter. These pagans all in our Kool-Aid don't know the flavor. That's why you have to fast and pray. Those days that we're fasting and praying, you got to take it seriously because we have witnesses. This is not just coming from me. These brothers are having their experiences. And when it happens to you, it's a feeling like, oh, you just can't wait to see it. It's a beautiful thing. Because before y'all got serious, I'm like, am I crazy? Like, am I? And that's why I used to listen to the other channels. Like, I'm listening to them like, no one is bringing this stuff out. All I'm hearing is Hebrew, King Judas, but lying all over the place. Paul said, Matthew said. It's like, bro, do you understand that you're not reading Matthew's letter? Bro, do you understand these people don't know Hebrew? That's why going back to old classes we had, I was like, let's table that for later, because as you get this information, maybe your understanding will increase. That's why as a teacher, you have to judge these things. So every conversation ain't ready to be brought out. Sometimes I gotta hear what y'all say and just not respond, because it's going to go down a rabbit hole that we're not ready for yet. Y'all see that? So some of these questions are valid. It's like you're saying that because you don't know these people behind these writings. Let's keep going. Did we finish that up?
Yeah. So Coverdale's Old Testament in his own translation
Is
of these German
started over out.
Coverdale's Old Testament in his own translation is his own. I'm saying, did I say that right?
No, you said
In his. Okay. Coverdale's Old Testament in his own. Okay, yeah. Yeah. It is his own.
so.
translation.
We're not going to go there, but these slides I got 2 Peter 1:21 at the bottom. No scripture is open for a private interpretation. This Coverdale done made a translation that's his own. I don't know no Hebrew. I ain't no disciple, but I'm translating the holy text. Keep going, Al.
On a point of principle, he followed Tyndale in his rejection of ecclesiastical terms,
I'm not using the Catholic Church terms.
using congregation instead of church and love instead of charity. Beyond principle, Cloverdale had an excellent ear, and many of his fine phrases have resonated down the centuries, transmitted by the KJV.
Uh-oh, y'all heard that? Coverdale has an excellent ear, and now his phrases has been transmitted into the KJV. Have y'all ever heard of Coverdale before today?
Now,
Now we got Tinsdale and Coverdale. Their phrases have made it into the KJV. Did your Bibles give them a shout out? But I'm preaching the word of God. Pastor toured up today, didn't he, y'all? Let's keep going.
his magnificent rendering of Psalms 25 and 6, for example, call to remembrance, O Lord, thy tender mercies and thy loving kindness, which have been ever of old, brought the word loving kindness and the phrase tender mercies into English and into the mainstream of biblical translation.
Why you laughing, huh?
Because so it's telling you that it doesn't say tender mercies. The Most High didn't say tender mercies, or the WOD didn't say tender mercies and loving kindness. And I'm laughing because they said it was a magnificent rendering, and to me or to us, it would be terrible, like abomination. So,
just making up words. Coverdale just made up a new word, each loving kindness. Like, that's not even a word. These are Frankenstein texts. We're having fun trying to make this palatable, but this is really serious magnitude. The Christians have no idea, but you scoffing us, laughing behind our backs, saying we're heretics, saying we're in a cult. You're in a cult. Your pastor don't know the language. He done wrote books. He done been on TBN. You're a pastor of the devil.
And it makes more sense to me about this love and charity. Love, the way they use it, is abstract. Even though in Hebrew, it doesn't probably say charity, but charity, it gives you the context that you did something, you did an action. Does that make sense? So when Tobit says giving alms brings salvation, which we've seen the same language in Isaiah this last 2 weeks, it just shows that more than likely that same language has always been throughout, but that love in English, when we've read it and learned this Greco-Roman sense, it makes us think differently. Like, I love Miss Gina, and it's like an abstract thing, but love really is an action word, though. You see, does that make sense?
You love, but when they say, oh, my car broke down, everyone's disappeared, everyone gets quiet. So you just heard the sister say her car broke down, like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But And what I thought, the reason why I thought the Catholics using charity,
Because you can tithe or give money.
keep the
Right.
Pope laced up.
And that's why too, I'm saying, I know it's not charity, but I feel like it's closer related to action than it is the abstract of,
Right.
of love.
Yeah.
And Gerald had his hands up.
Go ahead, Gerald.
Um,
Go ahead.
so, you know, and you kind of alluded to it earlier when we were saying how Protestant and Catholicism is pretty, I mean, the politics of it is is two sides of the same coin, really, both of them in deception. But I think of like how Christianity and how modern day religions kind of like focus on these Protestant reformers, kind of make you think that, oh, the Most High used these men, you know, he was using these men to break us away from Rome. And, you know, these men were great and blah, 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 this, that, and the third. But this shows how they was clearly simply just defying the prophetic warning that if you add or subtract from this, you know, your portion will be in the lake of fire. And from a righteous perspective, like we are made to kind of look at these dudes. I mean, because at one point I did kind of look at these dudes from a righteous perspective. You know, some we even put them in a category like the Martin Luther Kings, and you know, they kind of put all these people who led these movements. But when you really look at it, man, this is serious what they did. Like, this is really serious what they did, and they violated our King's words, you know, because they changing stuff. And I just that's just mind-boggling to me. Like I said, I no longer look at it. I no longer look at these guys, these reformers, the way I used to. So I just wanted to plug that in there.
All praise for that. Any others before we continue? After y'all.
Yes, the water. Going to what Shamaria was getting into as far as the love or the charity. Yeah, it is. When I read that whole scripture, you know, and then and I'm used to hearing it as the word love, but when I look at it also, I've always looked at it as an action. It's an action, because you see all the things that it is, and you see all the things that it isn't, and it has to be an action, and love is an action word, because love, when you read that scripture, I think that's 1 Corinthians 13, where that is, you see all the things that it is and all the things that it isn't, and you see that it's unselfish. Those are unselfish deeds when you read that breakdown of that scripture, and that's what love is. It's unselfish. And then I always, you know, thought to myself, well, if love is unselfish, how do you put that to the test when you think about it? When I give myself the scenario of two people who are supposedly in love, but they're in a disagreement, and then if a man is saying, oh, baby, I love you, but you know, but the woman that he's with is mad at him, and she says, what? Well, you don't love me, you only care about yourself, which means it's selfish. So the opposite of love is not hate, but it's selfish. It's selfish. But when you read that scripture, you see that description of everything that you're reading, it's 100% unselfish. So love is an action word that is unselfish, and it cares about how the other person feels and thinks. And that's what the Most High is. He cares about us, and he wants to give us everything, because there's nothing we can give him. He don't need us to do anything. He wants us to do it because he deserves it, but he don't need it. So everything about him is him giving everything to us, because love is 100% unselfish.
Right. All praise for that. Nariah, you had something too?
Just real quick, just to land me back up what Shamaria was saying regarding this sounding like politics. I've been thinking about it ever since he made the comment. And, two things that people always say over here, especially the two conversations that you can't have is religion and politics. So what I've been hearing as you've been bringing this stuff out is it seems like they've been implementing like those trigger words, those words that call for a response. And it sounds just like Christianity. You know what I'm saying? As far as like, instead of using love, using charity, instead of using church, you use congregation. And I'm thinking about it like, man, those are just those trigger words, things that get you riled up, it stirs up your emotion and dulls your logic. And that's all I've been hearing in the past couple of minutes. So you see the implementation, this spirit is strong. Now the wording, the translation, all of those things might be different, but just looking at the characteristics, we still dealing with the same spirit. So I just wanted to comment on that.
All praise to the water for that. Let's finish this up. I think we're gonna be able to finish this. Not at these old slides, or I don't know. This is weird, but I think we're gonna go ahead and get through this because this is the second person involved in the KJV, or this is the second lost father of the KJV. Let's finish this up. Isaiah, his translation of Isaiah.
His translations of Isaiah 55:6, seek ye the Lord while he may be found, call upon him while he is nigh. For example, passed into the KJV with two tiny changes, the addition of a second E after call and the substitution of near for nigh.
Oh, this was inspired by the Most High, y'all.
And in that form became a hymn, one that captures the parallel.
That's all we needed. Just another witness that you're not reading the word of God. You're not reading no Holy Ghost inspired, baptized, all that crap the church come up with. You don't know what you've been teaching people. The third hidden father of the KJV, the Matthew Bible.
In 1537, the publisher John Rogers, from 1500 to 1555, who was eventually to be burnt alive for his Protestant faith, produced the first authorized English Bible. The Pentateuch, I'm sorry, I'm gonna just say this real quick. I'm thinking that somehow, of course, the Most High uses everything. That, of course, it gave us enough to start to come back to the Most High, but because it was a sin to change the Most High's words, like John Rogers would change the Most High's words, do a whole new translation, and it could cause some good, but we know that it's wrong, right? And then the Most High has them get burnt alive. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we can't use that because this is Rome doing that. So Rome, you're burning them because they're exposing y'all to be fraud.
Okay.
So the Catholic Church, remember, this is pretty much what's been going on. You either a Catholic or a Protestant. So the Catholic Church, everyone who's writing a non-Latin version, Catholic Church, like, you're my enemy. We got to kill them.
Yeah.
So to that world, then these men are heroes. But to us, coming back to the Israelites, you're still a bum to us. You're not telling me the law is a lie. You're not telling me that I'm Jacob, that I have a special place for Yah. You're trying to tell me that you're with me, and you're not with me. So yeah, we can't really use that. But yeah, it's kind of ironic, so.
Okay, we get to this. Then Gerald, he got his hand up. The Pentateuch and the New Testament were Tyndale's, and Rogers also used Tyndale's unpublished translations of the Old Testament books from Joshua to 2nd Chronicles. The rest of the Old Testament and the Apocrypha were taken from Coverdale's versions. Tyndale was a heretic, so he could not be named, but the ornamental initials WT appear at the end of Malachi immediately before the Apocrypha, Similarly, Rogers is acknowledged only through initials. The name Thomas Matthew, which Rogers chose as a pseudonym, has long been a puzzle. The key to the puzzle is a polemical table of principal matters, translated from.
So this Matthew Bible, this John Rogers, he did try to shout out Tinsdale by putting WT at the end of Malachi, letting people know I use Tinsdale's translations. And then he tried to shout out the other guy, Coverdale. So this John Rogers, he created a Bible called the Matthew Bible. And he tried to shout out the people he used. This is another layer to how we got the KJV. You said Gerald has something up?
Go ahead, Gerald.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I had to unmute. Yeah, you hit around on the money, Morale, when you was clarifying that with Shamaria, because the ultimate issue at hand was, like I said, Rome don't want to lose their power. So if you protest in Rome and you coming up with anything, you know, if it ain't in Latin, it's in they didn't want the common people to know, you know, what the scripture said, because the prophecies exposed them and so forth. So they wanted that control. But what these reformers was doing was making it, I mean, even though the understanding wasn't clear, they was making it so the common people would see Rome for who they are. And then Rome turn around and say, all right, well, y'all want it? You know, because the whole King James play, because even though the King James is Frankenstein, we're exposing it right now. There's a such thing called the gunpowder plot that was orchestrated. I don't know who's familiar, if y'all familiar with that or not, but they were trying to blow up the whole King James. You know, they were trying to blow that thing up to keep King James from bringing all these people together to finish this project of putting the King James 1611 together. They found, like, I forgot how many, but so many barrels of gunpowder that was under, like, his castle or under his court or whatever. So they tried to stop that, but even with them doing that, they turn around because the King James boasts, the Textus Receptus having the having their text and the things that they use unbiasedly to put it together. But then, the Catholic Church come and try to trump that. But we found the oldest manuscripts, the Alexandrian manuscripts, and if you know anything about the Alexandrians, they was around when Paul was, in his ministry. They didn't believe in the Christ or whatever, but they like, well, we got the oldest text, and using our modern Bible. So if y'all want to understand it, come our direction. So the very people that was killing people from turning the common people on to the scriptures is now coming telling you, hey, we got modern Bibles for you. So majority of these modern Bible translations come through that Alexandrian, Vaticanist, Catholic Church, lane. They kind of got their hands on a lot of that stuff, whereas you seeing right now that the King James is influenced by a lot of messed up stuff too. So that, like, it just all go to prove both of them is two sides of the same coin of deception. And like I said, it's hard to see. It's kind of like the Most High was just letting it play out, because ultimately his word ain't gonna come back void anyway. I mean, his prophecies got to play out. So it's like he just letting them play out. They kind of like going at each other, exposing each other. What it seemed like to me.
Khan, that's a great point. But also remember, all of this is a lesson to who? Us. So now when we do hear the true word from the Shemayim, we love this word. We cry for this word. It's all for us to appreciate how much he's been searching for us. So again, I know a lot of people love the reformers, and on the surface, it looked like he was doing a good thing coming against the Catholic Church, but you still wasn't helping me. You just a new Catholic to me. So let's keep going here. We're gonna finish this up.
Somebody had a question. I'm not sure this person, but the name is Yocheved Israel. And
that's the sister who reached out to us.
Okay, so welcome to the Zoom chat, and glad to have you. She says, so the Apocrypha, specifically Enoch, as we have it now, is incorrect or mistranslated.
Yeah, there's a couple versions of Enoch. There's a website that I share. It has 3 parallel versions of Enoch by 3 different translators. And the first one that everyone runs to, because he translated most of the apocryphal writings, is a man by the name of R.H. Charles. When you look up R.H. Charles, he's a Catholic. His picture, he has a white collar on, and in all his translations, his math for the calendar turns out to be sun worship. So you have to check the editors and the publishers of Enoch, but there's a Enoch by George School. Enoch is kind of original, and the other one, Richard Lawrence. Google Richard Lawrence and George School. They got some translations of some Enoch and some other writings. Everything by R.H. Charles Worth is sun worship. So thank you for that question, sis. The Great Bible.
The term, the Great Bible.
All y'all know this Bible. Well, not all y'all. Some of y'all 90 babies. But most of us here are gonna know this Bible.
The term Great Bible reflects its size, 337 millimeters.
You gotta read that.
Okay. But the edition is also remarkable for its editorial scrumptiousness.
Y'all remember that? Y'all remember that big white Bible at your grandma's house?
Yeah.
That was the Great Bible. The one you got. Go to your grandma's house. She's still alive. Or someone got that big white Bible. That's the Great White Bible. That's the Great Bible.
With the cushion covers.
Yeah. So to make their Bible stand out, there's like, we're gonna make ours bigger than everybody else's. It's still garbage. Right. Still garbage. Yeah. Go ahead.
They put the little pictures in there.
Yeah.
The Old Testament was revised in the light of the publication in 1535 of a new edition of the Hebrew Bible with a literal Latin translation by the German Hebraist Sebastian Munster, and the New Testament with reference to the Latin version by Erasmus.
What did we say a Hebraist was?
Somebody who they studied it, but they don't know it. So
this German Hebraist, Sebastian Munster, he has a Hebrew copy of Matthew out there. You can get it. I think I had it on my hard drive that failed, but he has a Hebrew copy of Matthew that he translated, and it pretty much reads true to the one we have. But he's a German. So your Great Bible, I'm glad you made it bigger than everybody else's. So I guess mine is bigger. Mine must be more authentic, but it's the work of a German, and you're far from the apostles. So you make it all big with pictures and all this stuff. What does that mean? What does that mean? So that's the Great Bible. This is more about the Great Bible. You can go down just to the highlighted part of 1526.
In 1526, they smuggled copies of Tyndale's Bible or Tyndale's New Testament, and it had made, 1526 smuggled copies of Tyndale's Bible New Testament had made it available in English to anyone who could secure a copy. 13 years later, the English king was portrayed distributing English Bibles to his subjects. The Reformation had been accompanied by a revolution, one in which a book that had been imprisoned in Latin had become accessible in the everyday language of the English people. So again, we're Israelites coming back to the covenant, and we understand that your King James, your English Bible is still bondage to us, but to this generation of people, pagans, this is a glorious day for them, because Latin or Rome had the text under lock. If you didn't have the Bible in Latin, you was a heretic, you was burned. But now we have a king of England saying, yes, we're passing out English Bibles. For their era, this is great, but for you and I, it's not. It's not. Read on. The printers of the Great Bible were Edward Whitechurch and Richard Grafton. and often only one of their names appears on the title page. The name that stuck, however, was white churches. So in the instructions to the translators of the KJV, the Great Bible is described as White Church's Bible.
Once again, you have to use textual criticism and dissect what you're reading. The printers of the Great Bible were Edward White Church and Richard Grafton. So if I'm a printer, what does that mean? So boy, yeah, when you drop your music off, you just entrusted your work to whoever, I don't know the terms for your industry, but that's what that printer is. You done spent 5 years getting your research together, and now here's your baby. And remember, at this time, the printing press is just getting out there, so ain't like you got multiple copies of your manuscript. Here's your only baby in the hands of this printer. So I can put, and are you gonna have enough time to go back before those copies are released? Because when you get it, you're just gonna be happy that, here's my work. So by the time you realize this printer can change verses, the inserted, y'all see the level?
Didn't put your name in there.
Didn't put your name in there.
Richard got the shout.
This is the level going up to your King James. You're so far removed from the original, you've been teaching lies in the name of God because you got an education from a Greco-Roman school. This is how serious this is. That's how I'm telling y'all, stop talking to these people who don't know the language and don't know how deep you've been studying. It's just going to give you a headache. Pray for them and you stay on your path. Let's keep going. We're almost done, y'all.
The Geneva Bible.
This is number 5. I got the count up there. This is the 5th father on the way to giving you your KJV.
The accession of the resolutely Catholic Queen Mary to the throne in 1553 put an end to the printing of English Bibles and to their use in churches.
Queen Mary says enough of those English Bibles. We're burning and killing everybody who with the English Bible. Where my alcoholics at? Ever had a Bloody Mary? Ever heard of a Bloody Mary? It's after her for all the killing she did. For all the killing she did, she has a drink named after her, a Bloody Mary. Let's read on. You got to get full up. Yeah, you asked for a Bloody Mary, and then you know what you at. Get full. Lost. Yeah.
Let me get one of those burned alive, please.
Skin alive. Give me a skin alive, please.
Protestants fled from the fiery persecution that she inaugurated with the judicial murder of John Rogers, the publisher of the Matthew Bible.
So she started with getting John Rogers out of here, burn him up.
One of the Marian exiles was William Whittingham, later Dean of Durham, who became a senior of the English Church in Geneva.
Okay, so we have another player, William Whittingham. He's running from Queen Mary, and now he's somewhere becoming a dean in this college of Durham, and he's a senior or elder in a church in Geneva. Now, this is about the Geneva Bible, right? I started clipping it because I'm tired, y'all tired, I'm getting tired. These notes, I thought I lost these notes. I don't know what's going on here. But this is about the Geneva Bible. Read.
Private study was assisted by a system of chapter headings, maps, tables of theological material, and marginal notes, many of which are helpfully explanatory, but a few of which were deemed to be anti-monarchical.
So the praise of the Geneva Bible, it was a great Bible for study, for private study. Those other Bibles were good for churches and whatnot, but now this Geneva Bible, we got chapter headings, the crucifixion, faith by grace.
One of mine says Tuesday. Yeah, in this right here, I was reading it this week, and that's what I sent it to you. I think about how I know or how I'm getting evidence that the new year, when it starts, everything is not fully bloomed, because it starts where it says Tuesday of the Passover week. I'm like, well, if this is Tuesday of the first month of the year, and he went to the figs, that if it was in, that everything had already been bloomed, like here, where people say April is the new year, right? In April, everything is out. So if it was no figs on the tree and the text says it wasn't its season, which you can kind of question that too. But then I was like, well, then that makes sense that things are budding, but not fully ripe
At the start of the year.
at the start of the year.
So he just went on the sidebar. We be having these side conversations. For those listening, what Shamaria is bringing out during his studies, he realized that for those, and we're not trying to debate and argue with people, miss me with all that. You're sensitive, you don't know, got attached to a teacher or assembly, but God bless you. We're not doing that here. For those who are saying that the new year starts in April, y'all pay attention. In April, all the vegetation and the fruits are full bloom. But when you read the text, Messiah cursed the fig tree because the fig tree had leaves, but it didn't have fruit. So he's saying that his confirmation that the year starts when things are not fully ripe. If things are fully ripe, you're past the new year. That's what Shamaria found in his studies. That's the sidebar. So where we at in this stuff? We're about done, y'all.
And
So chapter headings are good. The praise of the Geneva Bible was they developed these chapter headings with maps and stuff, so you can study the Bible at home because these chapter headings, and now you got maps and tables.
And to my point too, that before I went on the sidebar, was that it says Monday, like up here as a chapter thing. So that they just
Who put Monday?
right.
What no apostle put on Monday?
Right.
It saw me when he first, he's like, what is he talking about? Tuesday, like, what even?
Because it's so like now, like
Monday too.
right. So like I knew that because we don't do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but like now this is showing who did
The
it.
text.
And I was like
We're deep behind enemy lines. That's what he's bringing. We're deep behind. How you giving me a Bible? We're talking about Monday as a chapter title. That's what he's bringing out. Who put the pagan word Monday in a holy book? A pagan. So thank you for that, Op. So the Geneva Bible was praised because it was a good study Bible for people at home. The presence of notes.
the presence of notes that reflected a particular theological position and offended those who maintain opposing positions. The decision to ban notes in the KJV was a direct reaction to the notes in the Geneva version.
So you see how these previous versions are affected in KJV? So the notes in the Geneva Bible were banned. So the original KJV says, we're not going to put notes in here. It didn't go over well with the public. I thought God is writing all this. I thought God is inspiring your Bible. No, it's these men that you've never heard of giving you these books called Bibles that your pastor is preaching from, and he don't know what he's preaching. He's preaching hellfire, but he's in the fire, thinking that he's above the fire. Read on, let's finish this one up. We're about done.
Bibles were thereafter reprinted without notes for centuries until the Schofield Bibles reintroduced a similar system in the early 20th century.
Schofield was a pagan pastor. He one of those great church fathers. He's the devil to us. The Bishop's Bible, this is number 6. We got one more. Y'all.
The anti-episcopal notes to the Geneva Bible displeased the bishops. And in 1568, a revised version of the Great Bible was published. A second edition with more revisions was published 4 years later.
So these bishops who done made themselves something, they've been ordained with collars, and I wear the big hat. I didn't like how y'all made a anti-episcopal Bible. Y'all trying to diminish my role, my position. So now I want to re-edit the Bible. I want to give y'all something that's from the bishops. Chef,
I had raised my hand earlier.
give him a mic, y'all.
I had raised my hand. I had raised my hand earlier, and I totally forgot what I was about to say. But just what you're bringing out, just give more weight to. I was having a discussion with somebody online, trying to figure out slave ships being sent over to, or ships being sent over to America.
Right.
That's not listed in the Bible.
Right.
But even the word says, John 20 and 30, that not even all the Messiah's miracles are listed. So why would they give us weight and tell us, oh yeah, well, some of your people came over here before?
Right.
They're not going to give you that information, bro. The more that you cover and show, like, it's all deception. Like you said, the printer, your publisher, they got our stuff in their hands. They not about to tell you nothing, bro.
So, and that ties I hate to go down this rabbit hole without the proof to show y'all, but what Gerald alluded to earlier, like now, okay, who are you translating my history? I gotta check you out. And when we check these people out, they go back to these secret societies, these fraternities. Say, well, who are you? Who are you to be playing with my scrolls? So the fact that these pagans are writing, and I don't like this version, let me write a new version. You think they're gonna say, and yeah, we actually took the children of Israel to America on ships to serve those people. You really think that they're gonna come out that plain? This is the level of scholarship you get from people. It's like when you hear them, you're gonna be like, brah, like Westbrook, brah, like we just gotta move on, pray for them, and move on, love them. Hope you make it to the wilderness, but me and you, we're on two different. Let's be men. We're on two different planes. So I support you. I hope you keep walking the walk. I hope I keep walking the walk. But me and you can't build. We're too far apart. To one of us catch up to the other's understanding. Me and you can't build. We're just too far apart. It is what it is. It is what it is. Where we at, Al?
Coverdale's Go ahead, Gerald.
Gerald has something?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, Maraj just sparked something. I was just gonna say facts, like what he just said, because throughout this today, I've been thinking, like, with this level of scholarship, as you always say, like, man, even on Clubhouse, like some of the people that think they're versed and they have the understanding, like, they can't touch this level of scholarship. And it's not too many Hebrew people I've heard that unpeel the layers to this degree, and it's just like for us to be in this situation, not to say that, that from a spirit that Torah Group is the only chosen group leading the way or whatever the case may be, because I know there's other people because I know there's other people that may have this layer of scholarship, but I noticed, like, with the stuff that we discuss here, man, when I try to have conversations with people and I try to break stuff down, it's like they don't even know what to do with stuff. Like, stuff like this just go over their head. It just go over their head because they're so surface, and they may know a little bit of knowledge about something, but it's kind of like, and I always say, it's kind of like, it's truth is a 1,000-piece puzzle. And somebody might have 200 and some pieces, and we might have 400 and some pieces. So we're going to be humble. We got 400 important pieces, and somebody else might have 500. The reality is, without us, they can't understand the fullness of what that puzzle is in completion. They need our pieces. And you got people out here trying to tell you the Bible from the beginning to the end with just 400 pieces, 500 pieces. And it just don't make sense, man. So I just think I don't know how to look at it. All I can do is be thankful to the Most High for reconnecting back with Shamaria when I did, and being exposed to you guys and taking in this type of scholarship, because I won't I wasn't doing nothing like this prior to meeting you, Marah. Like it was nothing like this, you know, for me. And this just elevated my understanding in different ways. And I'm able to put pieces together that I always kind of things that stuck out that I always kind of like thought about and didn't know how to process. And it's just like you always coming with something that just helped me elevate and put pieces together and stuff start making sense. And I think it takes a level of humility that people need to have to be able to benefit from that. So yeah, I just wanted to say that, man. All praises to everybody in the Torah group, and let's keep doing what we're doing because it's pivotal.
We give all praises and honor to the Most High. It's not me. It's the Most High guiding us. And like so, we got some live witnesses. When you are fasting, your heart's pure. He's going to whisper to you, read that, go here, and it's just the Most High He's keeping His promises to our forefathers. We are dirt bags, but Abraham, Isaac, and them are great to Him, and He's just doing a thing that's marvelous. But the flip side, Gerald, I mean, I hate to rain on your parade. This is a burden because you love these people you hear on Clubhouse and you love them and you want to try to reach them, but you know when you drop something on them, oh yeah, my teacher is like, you got to plant the seed and keep going. That's why I tell y'all, and I'm selfish because I want y'all to be on the island with me. It's lonely here. It's lonely when you hear people quote these Bibles, and Paul said here, and you got an assembly, you baptizing people. And then I take it to you're saying you're the court of God, and you don't know this a adulterated text. You got all this power of the Elohim on you and Elu and all this crap, and he ain't told you this is an adulterated text. This is me thinking like how you walking with Yahushua and he ain't told you this is adulterated. He didn't tell you that. I didn't tell him to make me a dinner. I was having a Sabbath dinner. I didn't die on Good Friday. I died the day before Passover. How you not seeing this? And you walk and you getting fresh meat. He's talking to you, but he didn't tell you his name. You've been teaching 30 years and you still calling him Jesus? I'm supposed to believe you got a relationship with him? You got a relationship with somebody. Because y'all know, like, we go back to that metaphor. First thing you want to do, get her name. Mm-hmm. She like me, bro. What's her name? Oh, she don't like me. So you telling me you walking with the son and you don't even know his name. And then when you're around Hebrews, you try to use a name. Bro, who you front for? You don't have a relationship. So we give honor to the Father. This is him keeping his word to our ancients. It's by a sham. It's by the blood of the Messiah. This is happening. So we got one. Do we finish this one about?
No, but go ahead, Gerald. He wants to come back. Go ahead.
No, you just said something, and I don't want to send it to the left, but it caught my attention. It's interesting. You said, because I want to understand what you're saying. You said, so when what they called the Last Supper, and Christ was with his apostles, and you know they take it as he didn't say this supper. You said it in the word like this ain't me, this ain't my body. We was together eating a Sabbath meal. Is that what you said?
No, not for the Last Supper incidents. Is John said he was coming from his work and he went back to the city of Bethany where he had raised up Lazarus from the dead. We're gonna find this as we part there. But even that Last Supper doctrine is a fraud because after he resurrected, what was he on the beach doing? Eating fish. He was barbecuing fish for the brothers. It's when he said, "Children, have you any meat?" So that Last Supper doctrine is a fraud. He ate after he resurrected. Not the seminary.
It's John chapter 12, verse 1. Starting at verse 1.
John 12:1. Read.
Then Yahushua, 6 days before the Passover, came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, which had been dead, whom he raised from the dead. And verse 2 says, there they made him a supper.
So this is what I was alluding to a class we did a couple months ago. The text in the KJV, because of Christian dogma from these Christians writing this text, want us to believe that they made him a supper, meaning that these people made a supper specifically for Christ. And that's Christian dogma. That's why your pastor want the big piece of chicken. But they're not making Christ a supper. It's saying that it was, what, 6 days before Passover?
Right.
So 6 days before Passover. Passover is on the 14th.
Right.
Reeve, I'm going to put some pressure on you. 14, and he said it was 6 days before Passover?
Right.
14 minus 6 is what?
Shabbat.
14 minus 6 is 8.
Yeah.
It's the 8th day of the month. So it's the 8th day of our month. We know they're having Shabbat. Christians want you to believe because they were honoring Jesus as the Son of God or as God, they made him a supper. No, it's 6 days before Passover. The elder wrote that down for a reason. For me and you to be waking up in North Carolina saying 6 days before Passover, it's the 8th day of the month, it's Shabbat.
Right.
So Messiah is keeping Shabbat meal with them on the 8th day of the moon,
And that's
not the 8th day of the sun. Not when the fourth portal opened up and the sun rays came through the fourth portal and I could see the equinox. No, the 8th day of the moon, Messiah kept Passover with the brethren.
and it just that was a witness for 8:15, 22, 29. Go ahead, Gerald.
So, and that's good. I'm glad you clarified that. So quickly, right quick, before I make the next statement. So the day before he died, that was the day before Passover, correct? That was like the 13th when they had that so-called Last Supper. That was the 13th, right?
No, that so-called Last Supper would have been the night of the 12th.
The night of the 12th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So it triggered, made me think. Remember Exodus 12, where they had to get then they had to get that unblemished lamb like around the 8th or something like that and keep it until it was not
The 10th.
until it was the 10th they had to get it. Okay, so I was trying to see if that had something to do with what Christ was doing, how he was.
I heard some brothers bring it down like that, and because they don't know the true feast schedule, it makes sense when you don't know the feast schedule, and it seems like a Hebrewism for Messiah. When we learn the feast schedule, it doesn't line up. They arrested him the night of the 12th, the day of the 13th, the day before Passover, they killed him. They killed him.
Be good. So here's Coverdale's, back to the Bishop's Bible. Coverdale's lively prefatory material was replaced by a solemn preface by Archbishop Thomas Cranmer.
So the bishops want a Bible that's tailored to them, that elevates them and put them over the people. So that's why this man developed a bishop's Bible, because they felt like the Matthew Bible and the Geneva Bible was diminishing their role as bishop. And when you do the research, bishop is from the Greeks. There's no bishops in Israel. Even when you read 1st and 2nd John, John is telling them, I am too, I'm an elder. So our elders didn't call themselves bishops and deacons. We're called elders, the sisters too. So you're going to these Greco-Roman schools, getting ordained with collars, calling yourselves pastors and bishops so-and-so, and you're following the pagans. Adoration. Let's drop down to the highlighted portion.
Okay.
There is no surviving.
There is no surviving parallel instruction from the Convocation of York, the Northern Provincial Assembly, but churches in the North bought it as well.
Mm-hmm.
There were 20 editions, of which the last was published in 1602.
1602, we're getting close to 1611. This Bishop's Bible has to influence your KJV. The last one, family, this is number 7. Number 7. I don't know if y'all heard of this one.
the Douai Rheims,
It don't matter.
the popularity of the Geneva Bible distressed Roman Catholics as well as Anglican bishops. And although the Catholic Church did not yet acknowledge the right of the laity to read the Bible in the vernacular, there was clearly a practical need for an antidote to Geneva. The translation was begun at the English College in Douai, then spelled Douai, but the college moved its Reims,
Move to Reims.
then spelled Reims in 1578, and the work was completed there. The driving force behind it was the Oxford Hebraist Gregory Martin.
There's another player. He's a Hebraist, meaning he thinks he knows Hebrew, but you don't. You know that Yiddish. You don't know the tongue. But here's another player giving you another Bible that's going to influence the KJV. Read on.
The New Testament was published in 1582 with notes by Martin's colleague, Richard Bristow. In the Old Testament followed in 1609 as far as Job and 1610. In both testaments, the translation was from the Vulgate,
The Latin.
the standing of which had been affirmed by the Council of Trent.
Council of Trent is Catholics, has nothing to do with Israelites or Hebrews. So you haven't been trained by the apostles, you haven't been approved by the apostles, you are Catholics writing another book, but now you want me to believe that you understand what my elders were saying.
And though in the case of the New Testament, it is clear that the Greek was consulted. Much of the translation can be fluent and elegant, but sometimes dogma or literalism intrude. So in the Lord's Prayer, Matthew 6:11, our daily bread becomes supersubstantial bread.
You understand what's going on? So their dogma or their principles or their religion, their beliefs of what the text really mean, creeped into the Douai Rheims. And instead of saying our daily bread, they changed it to what the Catholics believe, this is really the body of Christ. I'm really eating the body of Christ. Are we to eat people?
No.
So how does that make sense?
Knowing that in the Hebrew, it's just saying sustain us with our daily nutrition.
It was our daily provision.
Right.
Break the body of Christ.
Right. These Catholics said, no, this is really the body of Christ I'm eating. So it's called a substantiation or some little Latin word. So in their text, to fit the Catholic doctrine, they changed, give us our daily bread to our substantial bread. It's madness.
Super substantial.
Right.
And then in Philippians 2:7 and then 2:8 in the KJV, Jesus is said to have exonated himself. Neither phrase trips off the tongue because readability has been sacrificed on the altar of theological precision. The scholarly probity of the Douai Rheims Bible meant that it had to be taken seriously by later translators, as indeed was its New Testament by the translators of the KJV. And had the Old Testament been published sooner, it might have had a comparable influence.
So this Douai Rheims, because it was composed in their colleges by scholars, the KJV translators had to take it seriously when they started doing their translation. So we just went through 7 major key players based on men's interpretation to give you the KJV. So again, that's why we're telling you the KJV is a Frankenstein Bible. I don't know what I did. I started the slides over again. All praise to the Most High Yah. So that source is by Gordon Campbell, and I pulled one but I verified his information. There's other scholars supporting or pretty much corroborating all his sources. But again, for the sake of time, family, I haven't did this book justice. I have all kind of notes in here, but I know this is work y'all don't want to go through. Y'all just want that hamburger with the melted cheese on there and the chopped up onions, and y'all just want to get out of here. But this is the level it goes through to understand the truth. How many is sick and tired of being lied to? That's what it takes. And it is not all praises. And it's your father's inheritance giving you back what he promised Abraham and Jacob. He was going to give you living water, pour living water on us in the end days. And that's what's happening, family. So for all these brothers and sisters, whether they be Hebrews, Christians, I'm giving you Bible. That's what the Bible says. That's what the word of God says. Family, the word of God has been lost. The words that he gave to the elders, those copies are no longer around. If they are around, they're locked up in these museums that they will shoot you if you try to go into. So how do we know we're getting the word of the Most High? How are we getting this understanding? It's because fasting and praying. And John 14, let's close with John 14:21. Let's close with John 14:21. Then we'll open it up for questions, comments, and concerns. John 14:21. Shema, you have it?
Shema.
Read.
He that have my commandments and keepeth them, he it is that loveth me. And he that loveth me shall be loved of my Father, and I will love him and will manifest myself to him.
I will do what?
Manifest myself to him.
Again, this has been translated from Greek into English and Latin, but this text is, I believe it's authentic. I really believe this is the Messiah talking. And what Messiah is telling us, if you love me, my Father's going to love you. And if you love me, keep the commandments. And if you keep the commandments, my Father's going to love you. I'm going to love you. And then me, the Son, I'm going to manifest. I'm going to reveal myself. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to be the one when you're studying and seeking me or seeking the Father with all your heart. It's going to be the Son telling you that's not authentic. Why would Moses, why would I come and shut down all the law? Why would I tell you to live by grace and grace is abstract? Why would I tell you that you're saved by your faith and all you got to do is believe in me? But then I tell them in the Revelation, blessed is he who hath the commandments. So this is a work of love, and it's your Father keeping his word to your ancestors. This is not intellectual. You can't go to those classroom. No one can put hands on you, come up to the altar and let me speak tongues over you. And he could behind all that stuff is Christianity is garbage. It's garbage. I'm sick of it. Keep these commandments like your life depends on them because they do. And the Son is going to talk to you and give you this understanding. Any comments or questions?
My comment is that I appreciate this lesson and how the Most High, like Nariah was saying, he had like the Most High dropped some things on him a year ago or 2 years ago, but then it fully manifested when it was time for him to teach his class. And just me being here for so long, I can see the remnants of I can see the remnants of all the things you've been hinting at or saying, and start more coming to life even more. And I feel like you did a good job listening and obeying the Most High, and then using this resource. It was kind of short and concise. It was short and concise. And it really flowed well together so that you can understand like a timeline of how the New Testament, how the Bible KJV was starting to come together. So I'm appreciative for that, because now, it gave me more confidence in things like the Tetragrammaton and some of the things we talked about earlier, the names, the chapter breaks and headings. Just seeing all of those things brought out, it just cleared things up even more.
All praise to the Father for that. All praise. And what the goal is, and for those who maybe this is your first time taking part of this series, we're not telling you to throw the baby out with the bath. So if you're weak-minded and I can't believe the Bible, none of the Bible is true, that's not what we're saying. Maybe this is not the series for you. What we're trying to get people to do, we're trying to push you back to the arms of Messiah. We're telling you, you can't trust this Bible, whether it's the King James Version, whether it's a Septuagint, what else they got out there now? EGV, ESV, NIV. All these alphabet Bibles are garbage. They're the works of men. So we're trying to push you back to the arms of Messiah, and he's going to reveal the truth in these last days. Because if these Bibles were all we needed to make it back home, why did the Messiah say he's going to talk to us? Right. Why did he tell the daughters that I'm going to give the daughters dreams? If he knew the Bible was going to be all we needed, why did he say he's going to talk to us? But he's not going to talk to you if you're out here being unlawful, fornicating, shacking up, eating swine, lying, keeping Christmas, dying eggs. The Messiah ain't dealing with you, nor is his son talking to you. Queen.
Praises. This class was very good. I just wish that I know for me, my daughter, I wish she was mature enough to listen to this class, because she's one of the ones that kind of questions the Bible because of the history and all the translation. So, but this class was really good. Praises.
All praises. Sis Yakovad, hope I'm saying that right. I will send you, there's a playlist. I will send you the playlist of the language on the YouTube channel. I don't know if you visit the YouTube channel, but if you go there before I have time, there's a playlist called Learn Ancient Hebrew. And what we do, I don't know if you was on the beginning of this class. I knew we wasn't streaming it, but we have Shirach Ibar exercises where it helps us learn the ancient language. But I will send you that playlist. That's the best way to learn, just to be here, to learn the glyphs, to learn the language, and then start opening up the text for you. But thanks, sis, for tuning in. You have the link. The link doesn't change, so you're more than welcome to come back anytime. Do you have anything else, sis? All praises, all praises. Joe, she said she'll be back next time, though. Joe, you had something up?
Question, and we probably got to pray out to build more on them at some point. But two questions. Me and Shamaria was having a conversation yesterday. I don't know if he brought it up to you, but I kind of wanted to understand the difference between adultery and fornication. And because we know the law says you must not commit adultery, but it don't say you must not commit fornication. And that Greek word porneia, translated to fornication, ain't come about until like in the New Testament, so-called. So it's like, so the difference between the two, because we know clearly in the New Testament, Paul wrote, fornicators or adulterers will not inherit the kingdom. So kind of like, what does it truly mean to fornicate? Because we kind of talked about the sex ain't marriage thing, but at the same time, you can kind of find some context that you can kind of reason that sex was serious enough where it was like, if you laid with somebody, then, you expected to take them as your wife. So kind of wanted to build on that a little bit. But the other question I wanted to ask right quick is there a difference? Because this sparked when you was talking about Romans 8. Is there a difference between being led by the Spirit and the Spirit dwelling in you, or being glorified in the Spirit? Would you say there's a difference between the two, being led by Spirit and then being adopted by the Spirit?
I'm gonna address your question in order. The difference between fornication and adultery, however they can say it. Adultery means you are adulterated a contract. Either both of y'all have marriage contract with someone, or one of y'all have a marriage contract, and you're sleeping with another, so you're adulterating that contract. That's what the pagans call adultery. I've never looked the word up in Hebrew, so that'd be a good exercise to look it up in Hebrew. Opposed to fornication, fornication, like you said, is a newer word that appears in the so-called New Testament. And years ago, when I looked it up, it was mind-blowing. So I'm going from memory, so I asked everyone to fact check this. But fornication is based on architectural terms. The way they used to build things, these places in the city have, I believe it's called fourniers. But you break down, you chop off fornication, and the root word is fournier, and it's like it's a architectural terms. And the only thing that made sense to me that I could see, because I'm not an architect, is you ever been under the bridge, under the overpasses? So it's places like that in the city, like the overpass, where people were meeting and having relations there. And, you know, prostitutes would be there. And you ever see the bums hang out under the bridges and stuff? So that's the best example I can give of what the root of fornication. Like, you have no intent to keep this woman. You have no intent to follow the law with this woman or man. You're all just coming together under these hidden places to satisfy your filthy lust. And that's fornication. So even though you and I, we don't meet at these places no more, you're
Said no more. What do you mean?
There's a after the covenant. Go ahead, Farah, go ahead.
cleaning this up. I mean, in our day and time, in our day and age, we don't have fourniers no more. But if your intent is just to fulfill your lust, you're still fornicating. You have no intent to take care of that woman. You have no intent to listen to that man and obey that man. You just want to be satisfied. Right. So it's still fornication, even though you're not meeting at these places in the city. So look that word up. I think it's fournier is the root of that word, and that's what they were doing. They thought they was meeting out of sight of people, having relations, and it was just lust. It was lust. Your second question, I think you said, is there a difference between walking in the spirit and being under the power of the spirit? I believe it's a poor translation. I believe they're one and the same. To be in the spirit is you're pretty much being controlled by the spirit. And the spirit you should be being controlled by is the same spirit who gave us the law. That's the spirit of the Most High. So when we follow the law, we are following the spirit. We are under the spirit. It don't have you shaking and quaking on the floor. It has you keeping the law. It has you apologizing. It has you taking care of the poor. It's giving you power to heal the sick. So if any of the sick among us, we ain't got to say nothing to that sickness. That sickness know, like, I don't belong here. That's the power of our inheritance. The sickness will know, I'm out of place. These are holy people. I gotta leave this body. That's why when we get back, when we all on one accord, that's the power of being Israel. It's more than just wearing fringes and learning Hebrew language. Nobody among us should be lacking anything. Any other comments or questions?
Well, the reason why I asked that is because in Rome, well, you know what? I'm gonna yield for somebody else, and then I'll bring it back up after we pray out.
Any other comments or questions? We keep the Zoom up so we can fellowship. All right, so I just want to give all praise and honor to the Most High. Sis?
So it's related and kind of unrelated to this exact lesson, but so to quote unquote Eve, when Most High said that her having kids was going to be very painful, does that mean the whole process of having kids? Was it this hard to be able to have kids? So now, this day and age, you struggle but we're not even planning to have kids until 30 years into the future.
I would say without giving scriptures to verify this, so I'm gonna leave it up to you to verify. I think that a woman's labor has been intensified because of sin, because we're so far more filthy than Eve's generation. The sins have multiplied, so child labor has multiplied. It's scary. It's very scary because the woman is screaming. You don't know if the baby's in there, turn wrong side up. It's a very scary process, and I believe sin has multiplied the woman's labor. But to say has it gotten worse? I can't say because I haven't spoken to Eve's generation. We would need someone from Eve's generation to confirm that. So my speculation is I believe childbirth has gotten worse for the woman, but her having trouble is the weight gain, her not feeling her beautiful. Like there's a lot of things that go along with having a birth. That's why we applaud the sisters. That's why mothers get more esteem than the fathers. I don't know why, but anyway. But because the sister goes through so much, that's why she's esteemed to give birth, because she's gaining weight. She could possibly lose her life. And it's a scary time, but all that is because of disobedience. All that's because of disobedience. So to answer your question, I can't say for sure has it gotten worse since Eve's time, because we don't have that generation. But my speculation, based on some scriptures, I believe childbirth has gotten worse because of sin.
Women having menstrual cycles being this painful because Eve find her.
That's your daughter.
This is the movie out of the road.
But look, that's beautiful though. We make a light of it, but what if that's what the Most High wanted us to do. Tell the children it's because of disobedience this is going on. Don't tell the child, oh, this is just the way life is. Nah.
You got stoned in the back. You ain't acting like
Right. So if we would have told the generation that, just think how much better we would have been telling them, hey, you're going through that because of disobedience. Our sons who are lazy don't want to get dirty. I don't want to get my sneaks dirty. I don't want to sweat. You got to go to work and sweat because of disobedience. What if we would have told the sons that? You mean to tell me, Dad, I ain't have to work for these fruit? No, you had to work for these fruit. The fruit was just growing all over.
he built the garden before he built us. He put everything in the place. There you go.
We didn't have to work. We was trust fund babies. All he asked you to do was honor me and obey what I set up, and y'all had everything. So this generation, if we can instill in them what you're going through, why you feeling this way, is because of disobedience. Think how much more powerful your grandchildren are. So all praise to the Most High for that question and being inquisitive. Any others before we close out? Sister Olivia, give her a mic because we still got people online.
I just have a question. My dad has just really been on my spirit today, just with the teaching and everything. And I've just been having more conversations with him recently just about the law. And he believes, like, in the Frankenstein Bible, he believes that, it's choppy and there's contradictions and all that. And so his discrepancy when it comes to the law is like, okay, well, if the other books outside of the Torah are choppy, how can I trust that, like, Moses' words are from the Most High? And I kind of struggle with knowing how to talk to him about that and kind of knowing the right thing to say or even precepts to bring up. So I just wanted your advice and wisdom on that.
Do you have the bookmarks for the plumb line and digging for Hebrew roots? Those bookmarks?
No.
I don't know if we have any left, but that's when the we got a new tape. That's when the plumb line is going to come.
2 or 3 witnesses.
2 or 3 witnesses. That's what's coming in.
That's what I told him too, but I just don't think it was clicking. I don't know. And I know the Ruach is a big thing too, and if he's not walking in the spirit, then he's not gonna be able to see things or understand. So
that too, but give people time. Give people time to chew on. The fact that he's listening is beautiful. So just give him time to mull it over, and maybe something to come, or maybe you hear something to corroborate what you said, and it'll click. It'll click. Chef?
I was going to say to that point about the seed, when you think about agriculture and you say, I want to grow some strawberries, you don't plant that seed and tomorrow you expect full bloom, right? So you're gonna nurture that thing. You're gonna get a little water here, maybe you got a little sun. Sometimes you're gonna open the door and then get some fresh air. So just slow walk that thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But it seems like you're ahead of a lot of our family though. But just be patient, like you said. But the plumb line, when it comes to stuff like that, the plumb line is beautiful because we have the Most High saying by 2 or 3 witnesses. And then we have examples of the Most High using witnesses. There's several times the Most High says, I call y'all to be my witnesses, talking to Israel. So that's paramount. And I mean, I don't want to take everything to spiritual level because that's the Christian way out. So the plumb line is going to be the most concrete, solid thing. Like, can you find 2 or 3 witnesses for what you're saying that is corrupt? Show me 2 or 3 witnesses that is corrupt. And, you know, we have multiple prophets from different epochs saying the same thing. That's because remember, Moses and Isaiah never met. That's huge. Some of the prophets, Jeremiah and Isaiah, I believe they were from different eras. That's huge. That's huge. Have you got some?
Even in school, we had to give witnesses when we wrote essays or whatever. So he's familiar with that. If you go into these school systems are willing to accept it, where do you think they got it from?
Nariah, man, thank you so much for that gift. I look, you actually see me now. I'm not Torah Baby Black. Thank you for that light. All praise. Jeremy, put your hand back up.
Yeah, just to the sister.
I'm Mocha Brand.
Just to the sister, I was gonna say that.
Who said that, Nariah? I'm Mocha Brand. I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead. Don't be acting fool.
Yeah, just to the sister, I was gonna say, for one, just try establishing a common ground first. Establish that you do acknowledge and recognize his position that has been tampered with. That's what this whole class is about. Because of disobedience, like Marah said, a lot of these things like that women got to go through, that man got to go through, it's because of disobedience. That's the same thing as far as this truth. Our truth is not untampered because of disobedience. Again, defiled bread. We have this defiled bread, and we have to sort through this defiled bread until Mashiach come back. Well, till Hamashiach come back. You know, we got to sort through this defiled bread, being led by spirit, to understand it to the best of our ability. So acknowledge first that, hey, I agree with you. It is tampered with. However, it doesn't mean that being led by spirit, we can't come to an accurate understanding to the best of our ability of what the Most High need us to know until it's time to clean it all up when Christ come back. So I would take that angle if I'm you. What is it, Reggie? Ezekiel 4:13. Ezekiel 4:13. That's the defiled bread text that talk about, that alludes to basically what we have, especially in this captivity, and all of these pagans that mess with this stuff and they gave it to us and they telling us this is your inherent word of God. But clearly it ain't, so acknowledge it first and then try to help him see the plumb line, the 2 or more witnesses of the things that can be proved. That's just my advice.
So, Gerald, jog my memory. 3 strong witnesses is the fact that the Masoretic text, their Old Testament, Septuagint, and the Dead Sea Scrolls, those 3 sources don't always agree, but they're really, really close. So the Masoretic text is the most recent, and they changed a lot. But we got the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Septuagint. They're like, I want to say, I can't remember offhand. I believe the Septuagint is older than the Dead Sea Scrolls. I can't remember. But for the fact that the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Masoretic text, meaning the Old Testament that the King James used, and the Septuagint, those verses almost line up word for word, just a couple of alterations. That's a strong witness that there's some validity to the structure of the text. So that's a great question. Any others before we pray?